We are live. Thanks everyone for waiting it out. Give us a chance to chat a little bit before we got on. But it is true. We have the one and only Mr. Walrus on Instagram. It's under Walrus Tank. I got the link in the top of the description if you want to go check him out on Instagram. He's got a channel made for an account, but doesn't really do the whole YouTube thing right now. But now Mr. Walrus has been in the hobby, sounds like just as long as I have. He's right in the mix, and I think we're having a great discussion today. So, Mr. Walrus, you want to kind of give your description of who you are, what you do, what Pokemon means to you?
I just troll chats, I guess. That's my calling card. And then I got back in like 2016, but I originally got back in with Yu-Gi-Oh! It wasn't even Pokemon. I went to Target at the time, like a Pendulum summoning was getting released. I don't know if you're familiar with Yu-Gi-Oh!
Not that era, no. Just, I mean, I'm familiar with like the first maybe 6 or 8 sets.
So yeah, like it was just massively summoning monsters like that just attracted me. I'm like, I came back from like an era of Yu-Gi-Oh! Where like you summoned one monster in defense position and then you passed your turn. So just summoning 100 monsters at once is awesome. So that got me into it, and then eventually, like, I got my childhood collection, and I just started buying cards, and that was it. Been back since then.
I gotcha. So, how did that shift into Pokemon? Just started buying stuff you liked as a kid, or?
Yeah. So I went and got my childhood collection, and then I started buying cards, and I didn't even realize like I was buying the non-holos of all the holos. And I'm like, wait a second, like there's holos to these cards I had as a kid, like. So I started buying those, and like the first PSA slab I bought was like a Blastoise 6.
Are you talking about like the Jungle Fossil, like non-hollows?
Yeah, I was
Yeah.
shocked. I was like, wait, there's a Dark Charizard that was supposed to be shiny, and I had like the non-shiny version. So I
That's
just bought
hilarious,
those, and then
man.
I was just trading or buying more, and then the pandemic hit, and that's when prices were too large to not sell.
Right. So, okay, so I guess we'll start right there. I mean, so you obviously got in pretty close to when I did. Started out the same way I did. Like I talk about it. I didn't even know there was such thing as investing in this stuff until I found SM Pratt's channel and Alpha Investments. I literally just somehow, I guess it was Pokemon Go or Evolutions, got me looking back into it and just started collecting again, just spending money, not investing, just spending money. And then, yeah, I guess somewhere along the lines, like 2017, 18, just it became investing. So what was that journey like for you? Like, when do you think you kind of shifted over to like more of a business mindset of maybe not investing, but trying to buy and I guess gain value or flip for profit? And then how did you handle, when the boom happened? Did you sell out a bunch? Did you just kind of, keep the same thing, churning and burning? How did that affect, your whole relationship to the hobby?
I mean, the business shift happened like what the laws changed in 2021, where now if you spent $600, you had to declare it. So I was like, I might as well just at that point, like you might as well just get your your reseller's license. You might as well just go as legit as possible because now you're not paying taxes on purchases. Yeah, you pay them on sales, but not on purchases. So it was like such an easy shift. And then just watching like Nick and Dan talking about it, I'm like, oh, like I could apply for this. Like I know how to fill out paperwork. So you fill it out, you have your reseller certificate, and that's it. But
So you didn't really sell much before then?
no, and if
Really?
I did, it was like maybe a couple $1,000s that just like cards you pulled that you just sold because they're like either super playable or whatever it was. You just sold them and that's it. So like when 2020 hit, like I was doing just below the 20 grand to make sure like I had no taxes.
I gotcha. Yeah. Well, no, wasn't it like 20 grand? It had to be 200 transactions too, right? Or was it one or the
Yeah, it
other?
was like 200, or it was like a ridiculously high number. But like at the pandemic, like I was like every card was like $1,000 that you had, and you paid like 20, $30 for just a few years before. So it was super easy to just get large numbers and small transactions.
Yeah. So has anything changed for you in the Pokemon or Yu-Gi-Oh space now after pandemic, after the boom? Like, I'm sure back then you were doing the same thing I was, really focusing on vintage or childhood stuff. Is that still your focus? Have you shifted to modern? Like, where do you think the bulk of your collection and your kind of your plays are headed these days?
I think like the plays right now are more modern than anything. I mean, it's just so plentiful. So plentiful. People are paying for it. And then I haven't bought any like Pokemon slabs. I've just bought one in like the last year that I want to collect, and that's it. I just don't see the value long term in collecting Pokemon right now at these prices. There's much more value in other TCGs or video games or something that's just as nostalgic.
Gotcha. So are you basically kind of on like the Dan's mindset is like basically everything for sale?
Not everything. I mean, I sold like all my Charizards and like all the Shinings and Crystals and stuff like that in 2020 and 21. But like
Okay.
the jungle cards that I paid $20 for in PSA 9, like I still have a lot of those because I think they're worth more than what the market's going to pay. So I just rather hang on to that for maybe a longer term.
Gotcha. I gotcha. So, how many collecticons have you been to, or how many
Only
like
been one.
just one?
Yeah, I went to Orlando.
And did you vend?
Yeah,
How'd that go for you? How's that?
surprisingly well. It's like I didn't have a lot of inventory back then. So all my subs literally came back like a month before I had to go to Collecticon.
So, like,
So
to anyone out there, KC's obviously this weekend, Charlotte's coming up. Like, to anyone on the fence of like, vending, what's kind of your advice to them? Just go for it.
bring, yeah, I mean, obviously you have to like go for, and I don't think like the entry is that high. Like with the Discord that we all have, like we're paying $300 a table with the displays. I think it's like 310 or something. That's super affordable. That's super cheap. And then I mean, obviously hotel and stuff like that. But like I think all in Orlando just for like the trip alone, it was like $700 to get out there. And I
Gotcha.
and I brought like absolute trash to sell, and I still did okay. Like back then, I wasn't doing any modern. I wasn't doing anything. So like I brought absolute garbage, and I still sold like 5 grand.
That's not
So
bad,
yeah, it was dark.
especially for selling garbage.
Yeah,
It really
like
tells me
tops.
what you think of this hobby.
I no, but because like I brought like what did I bring? I brought like Top Sun, like the Cardass, Pokemon, and then I brought Tops and some like Yu-Gi-Oh, and then I still did okay.
So you're making those like real deep dive like type style plays, the going for the top sun, going for tops, like more of the niche markets, more than like the everyone knows about type stuff.
And that's the thing. Like back then, these things weren't played. Like you were just buying it because it was cheap. Like I remember, like in 2016, like PSA 9 first edition base sets were like 200-300 bucks, and I'm like, I can't afford that. Like that's expensive. But I can buy like a whole Top Sun set for 200 bucks.
Dude, the chat's cracking me up right now. Even without you in it, we got Ray. Sweet shirt, bro. Thanks for buying it off me. Raid, man, I appreciate you repping the merch in Old Card Shop's live last night. If anyone hadn't seen that, Old Card Shop, he had a live with Ray last night talking about collecticons and vending. So, and Ray was repping the merch, and he was taking heat for it, as with anyone who associates with me. I told Mr. Walrus, I said, "Hey, man, you might not want to come on my channel. It's gonna basically get you blacklisted from all the groups you're in."
I'm already not well liked, so it's fine.
I don't know about that, man. I think you're the one that keeps the chat alive. Old school's trolling you a little bit. I can attest that he brought absolute trash. I was kind of embarrassed being set up next to him.
I mean, you need to go to like a Collecticon where Nick is there because that guy just charms the fuck out of everybody that's there.
That's what
Like
I've been hearing. That's what I've been hearing.
he is a master at Collecticon. So just like being in his section, like you learn a lot.
Gotcha.
So I'll talk nice on the guy instead of trashing him.
Hey, Old Card Shop's here. Here we go. So I kind of want to talk about. So let's think about this. I don't know if Dan's video yesterday was supposed to be satire, or if it's just sarcasm, or if he's serious about the modern market really being the new thing. And then you got Z&G Emporium putting out his amazing YouTube shorts or TikToks, and I gotta admit, they're well done, they're hilarious. But obviously, it's all trolling on modern. If anyone doesn't know what I'm talking about, Z, he made a YouTube short / TikTok, just like kind of making fun of people saying vintage is too expensive, but then showing all these modern cards that people paid so much more for and stuff. And so, I mean, where are you? I mean, because I can kind of say where I'm at, but where are you on that whole spectrum? I mean, are are you kind of holding on to like the nostalgia and the love for vintage that we grew up with? Are you starting to see the appeal of this more modern, the modern stuff, and the sealed collecting, and the the new artworks and stuff? Or or you think people are just crazy spending this amount of money on modern and they should be putting it into vintage instead?
So before Orlando, I was like all vintage, just old stuff, like stuff you grew up with. But after Orlando, just the sheer amount of people that are like, "Do you have this card? I'm looking for this card," and it was all modern. Nobody's like, "Hey, I'm looking for a Kabutops fossil. Like, do you have it?" Like, it was all modern, and a lot of Magic, surprisingly to me. A lot of people were asking for Magic the Gathering cards, but literally, I swear to God, like people coming up with a picture of a Moonbreon on their phone saying, "Hey, I'm looking for this card." Not even knowing what the card is, just asking about the card, like, "I'm looking for this card." They're like, "Oh, no." He's like, "Oh, I'll even take a graded one in PSA 10 if you have it." Like, what? Like, you're gonna drop $1,200 on a Moonbreon? Like, that you don't even know what it is? Like, so much of that. So after that, like, my mind just shifted. If this is what people want and it's what people are gonna spend their money on, and you're gonna try to make this work, that's what you have to carry.
Does it surprise you?
I mean, not really. I think vintage was so cheap for so long. Like, I think at a certain point, it's gonna get to that point where if you wanted this stuff, you're gonna have it already. Like, if your favorite Pokemon's Jolteon from Jungle, at some point, like, you've already had it in the span it's been released.
Well, I mean, like, 'cause I ask pretty much everyone this now. It's like, because, I mean, obviously, I mean, a lot of people know my position, but it's like, I mean, just look at like the cards. I mean, would you rather have some just random Pokemon from like Jungle or Fossil or even Base Set Unlimited for $400 or $500, or would you rather have one of these new alt arts that are incredibly hard to hit? That even though there's more graded, they're much more rare. I mean, it takes cases and cases to hit it, whereas vintage it might take a box or two to hit it. And you can buy them at the same price. Like, I know you said you're not buying any slabs for yourself, but I mean, to me, it kind of makes sense. I mean, does it make sense to you, or do you still think people are just being crazy and just kind of get involved in FOMO right now?
I mean, it's grown adults paying money for what they want, right? So if they want, what's Giratina V? You covered it, right? I think it's like $900 right now in a PSA 10.
Yeah, I think it's like what 300 raw or close to. Which, I mean, the reprint's coming, so who knows?
So is that a better art than the base set Charizard?
I mean, I think it's hard to compare to a Charizard, but if you compare it to like other cards, I mean, I could argue, yeah. Like, are you gonna say would you rather have a first edition PSA 10,
All
Kabutops?
red. Yeah, so obviously people are going for what they like, and if that card is better to them and it's more plentiful and to a certain point affordable, right? Like, that's what they're gonna go for.
Yeah, it's kind of like, I mean, I don't know. There's obviously more people in the hobby now than ever. It's just by sheer numbers of population, multiple generations, whatever it is. And so I think, it's kind of in my mind what a lot of people were missing. They thought I was just, when I first started my channel, obviously everyone's skeptical. They think, oh, it's another pump and dumper, another guy just trying to, scam people on modern, whatever it may be. But I mean, this is kind of the exact path that I saw laid out in front of me. Is there's just multiple millions of people more now than there were back in 1999 into this game, because now there's our generation, there's the kids, there's more people, older generation, and there's more money pouring in. People aren't opening a couple booster packs. Parents aren't buying their kids a couple packs. They're buying their kids ETBs, booster boxes, a lot more. They're opening themselves multiple cases. More is getting open now than ever. And one, it's making the attrition of the sealed product just go way, way, way down. But also, the cards are so much more actually rare. And I know a lot of people say you can never say a set card is rare, but these set cards now, in my mind, they are legitimately rare. I mean, when you can't open one in multiple cases, that's a rare card. You're talking, hundreds and hundreds of packs.
But
And so,
I disagree with that part. Like,
okay.
are you gonna buy 300 packs of Lost Origins to buy a Giratina, or are you just gonna go out and buy it if you want it?
Well, right, yeah, you'd buy the card. That's my point. That's why like the cards are so much more valuable, is because none of the WotC stuff was actually rare, unless you can. Maybe like the shinies and the crystals started to get rare, but nothing near the rarity of what alt arts have been.
I think as far as pull rates, yeah, but just not availability. I think everything's available to purchase. So that's why I was
Yeah,
like, oh, is this card rare?
availability.
Like,
Yeah,
no, you can go out and buy it.
yeah, but it's kind of like why things are so liquid. Like, when Dan will talk about how he can buy all these celebration Charizards and they'll all sell like within a matter of months. It's like, just because there's 5,000 or 10,000 pop report, that's still less in comparison when you think hundreds of thousands or millions of people want those cards compared to only a few thousand or 10,000 wanting a card with 500 or 1,000 pop report. You see how it's still a less ratio?
I mean, I think at the end of the day, pop reports don't matter.
Okay.
Like,
Well, here, just popularity in general. There's hundreds of thousands of people that want that card when only, I mean, most people, like when you talk about Tops on and Tops, a lot of people don't even know those cards exist. So like you already have a smaller market. And even in like when you get back into kind of later WotC, past like the first gen, not even everyone that gets into Pokemon knows those sets exist and don't never even dive in and find those cards. And so you already have a much smaller market. And then of that, you have a much smaller market that can actually afford that and want to afford it over the modern. So like you still think, I mean, where do you think like vintage's future is? Do you think like there is a resurgence in the future, or are you just kind of going to keep riding the, grade and flip wave with the modern?
I mean, you have to ride what works. And right now, modern is working. I think if vintage makes that resurgence, you pivot to vintage. Because at the end of the day, if you're doing this to make money or build something, you're going to do what works, But I don't think,
Absolutely.
I mean, in my opinion, like vintage, what's the reason? Like, I see no reason that vintage comes back. I mean, the biggest push they had was like celebrations, right? But even then, like, what's up PSA 9 base set Charizard first edition at right now? Like 22 grand?
No, I think it's in the teens usually at auction.
Ooh, that's dark. So, I mean, it's already going down in price. Like, if you bought it 60 grand or whatever it used to be, like, you just lost so much money. Like, and then people see that, and that's not going to give you confidence. But
Yeah.
Giratina V for the longest time, even Moonbreon was at like 300 for a PSA 10, and people thought those prices were crazy.
Yeah, the only set I believed in vintage was first edition base. And I mean, I just saw a bunch of hollows end this past week, and they're at somewhere below, somewhere a little above what I paid, but like basically no growth. I'm seeing no growth in those at all. When like basically every single thing I bought in modern, with the exception of things that I bought in the past maybe 3, 4, 5 months, has all went up. I mean, like clockwork across the board at different levels. But it just seems like it's like obvious to me. I don't. I get the whole mindset of you buy low, sell high. Like now that things are low, it's the time to buy. But there are those circumstances where things just they never recover.
And vintage is at a point where are you going to buy vintage and hold on to it for how long before it goes up? Or are you going to spend those 300 on the Giratina, graded at 10, and sell it for 800? I have one at PSA right now. Like, it's on my watch list. If more pop up that I think are 10 candidates, like, I'm just going to snap buy them. Why wouldn't you want that 200x multiple, like that 200% return that
Right.
I don't think you're going to get with vintage unless you're buying giant collections?
So let's kind of pull back the veil, right, for a lot of people out there that are going to watch this and they always want to know like what it looks like behind the curtain, right? So what's kind of your sourcing strategy? What are you doing to source these cards and find them in PSA 10 condition?
Just eBay, same as everybody else.
So you're just going through picture after picture on eBay and hope, and then finding one that looks mint, getting it in, hoping, and then pre-grading it, hoping it gets a 10.
Well, hopefully, I mean, that's the gist of it, right? But once you've combed through eBay and it's just on your saved list, it's going to take you a few minutes per thing you're trying to do. Right now, what I'm trying to do is like when I'm off, I'll spend like an hour just mass buying whatever cards I need or I want it to get graded.
When you say
So we're
mass
talking
buying, what do you mean? Just you're just like sorting by lowest first and just going down the list and buying from
just
everyone that has
newest
your mint?
listing. Because like after a while, like you've combed all your saved listings, you should only get alerts when there's new listings, and there's only like the 8 or 10 that pop up. So
Okay.
like Giratina V, like if you go right now, there's maybe 15 new listings. You only have to go through 15 new listings. How long is that going to take you? And right
Right.
off the bat
So
with Giratina V, like centering is a huge issue.
Yeah.
So you don't even have to look at the back or condition or anything if it's already off-centered, and you just move on.
So are you basically just trying to buy the singles that you feel are good plays? Or are you finding lots or collections? Are you going elsewhere besides eBay, or is it basically all just buying singles off eBay that you think are gradable?
Just all off eBay that I think are gradable. I did some TCG player plays, but like the condition was just trash. Where like
Gotcha.
I have maybe 50 envelopes I need to open that I'm just not opening them because it's hard. Like I'm not even kidding. Like it's heart crushing to get it, and you're like, oh, like what can I like? It's not gonna be good. So I'll just open one a day and then dilute the disappointment for weeks.
Yeah, I'm actually doing an experiment right now. We're gonna see when it gets back from PSA, but like I did the same thing. I just went crazy on TCG Player, and then I'm just just auctioning off or selling the ones that weren't gradable. A lot of returns. I mean, I don't care. I'll be that guy. Like if I get these cards in and they're literally creased or anything like that, I'm sending them back. Like you can't list it as near mint. I'm pretty, okay if they're just a little more whiting or a little more scratched up. I'll take the hit. I'll list them as light play because I'm going to be fair about it. I'm not going to try to screw someone else. But if they're literally creased or damaged, I'm sending them back. And so yeah, I agree. I'm going through that with like 5 different people on TCG Player right now. A lot of the times they don't respond. TCG Player has to step in and refund you. But I think overall, like I was talking to someone else about it. I mean, I still think there's like 20-30% of the cards I'm getting are probably 10 candidates. Do you kind of find that kind of ratio, or?
I mean, if you're going for like I bought a lot of like caricature rares, is that what they're called? And like the trainer gallery and all that, those are just trash quality. And I mean trash like 8s or 7s or whatever.
Yeah.
So right now what I'm gonna do with like a lot of the singles that I'm getting that aren't gradable is I'm just gonna put them in binders and bring them to Charlotte to see how they do as singles. Because a lot of people just buying singles for $1, it's just like a snap buy.
Yeah, that's actually what shout out to Ray, he was saying in that live last night is, he can't even like, depending on the collecticon, he doesn't even know. Sometimes singles do better than slabs actually for him. And he'll have people that just buy out his entire singles binder. So apparently singles are a thing, kind of a staple you need to have at collecticons.
Well, the amount of people that like come up to your table and be like, oh, what's this? Like they've never seen a slab before. Like it's their first collecticon. They don't know what a slab is. And you have to like, oh, this is how it works or whatever. They're like, oh, why is it so expensive? I'm like, it's a perfect card. They're like, oh, but I want it for my binder. I'm like, oh yeah, this doesn't work. But yeah, it's still an overwhelming a lot of people that don't know what grading is. So like that's why I'm confident on the market, because we're like the minority of people that are just grading and doing all these things.
Ray saying he never said that. You absolutely did say something like that. I may not have got it word for word. Yeah, and so like, all right, so you're sourcing that way. I mean, what are the sales routes? Are you just selling on eBay or selling eBay TCG Player? Do you do any like Facebook Marketplace in person, Facebook group
I don't
sales?
have a Facebook, and I don't have like I already hate selling on eBay. I think it's
Okay.
annoying. So and then like I'll post on my Instagram story just like and then somebody will hit me up like, hey, is that for sale? And I like did like $1,000 about last month on just Instagram, so like off eBay.
Okay, so like some of the trolls, like some of the times you've been trolling the chat, right? You've been trolling a lot lately about how like PSA inventory is just like sitting. I mean, are the sales down? Are things getting less liquid? What are you seeing right now? Like with your inventory, at least.
I mean, last month was like the best month I had on like so my goal after like Orlando and I just saw the hype is like I started buying more modern to like flip. And like my goal was to do $1,000 a month on eBay, like net. It's like, oh, if I can do that, turn it and burn it and just keep recycling the
Net profit.
process. Yeah. I'm like, that's decent. Like I'm just starting out. Last month I did 4,000.
Net.
Yeah.
So what does sales look like for that?
Like almost 6,000 about.
What?
So like, because you're sourcing cheaper cards, like you're turning a $2 card into like a $40 card.
So you're making
Crazy.
70% margins ish.
Some of those cards were really cheap, like that I had, but like it's a lot of packages you have to send out, and I've said it before, like I hate shipping.
Well, doing $4,000, it can't be that cheap, right? What do you
Like
think your average sale is? Like $40-$50?
probably about like 60-ish, like that area, just because like it's everything. Like I don't sell any singles; it's all slabs right now.
So $60, so you're probably doing about 70 or 80 sales, I'm guessing, ish.
About, yeah.
Okay. And when did you start kind of taking on that route? Was it, I mean, kind of always or just like recently?
No, just after Orlando recently. I came back, I saw that, like, once you're there and you see the demand that people are dropping the insane amount of money, like, that's it.
Gotcha.
Like, that's what I'm saying, like, anybody that wants to do this or likes it, get to a Collecticon.
What do you think
Like,
your like if you had to average it, like what do you think around starting capital you had to work with when you started going that route?
well, because, I came back with, like, all the inventory that didn't sell at, so it's just basically that, and then my goal was by August to have everything be, like, self-sustainable, not putting any of my own cash in, none of that, so I achieved that last month, so it
There you
just has
go.
to sustain itself at this point.
Gotcha. So you mean like all your profits you're just rolling into new inventory basically.
Yeah, so hopefully I can keep multiplying that until I can buy better and bigger things like I'm trying to do.
And so you're not planning on taking any money out of the hobby, you're just going to keep growing it.
Yeah, I mean, I have a job to sustain, so, like, my video games, like, thanks to that is what I bought, like, my Pokemon Yellow, like, all the video games that I have. So,
Are
like,
those
I'm
all
still
sealed?
collecting. Yeah.
Nice.
So, like, I'm still collecting, but now it's everything is just kind of funding itself.
And now as we talked about kind of before we got on stream, now you don't I know you have sealed product, you have that. You don't consider any of it investments though, correct?
I mean, it's all inventory. I mean, if you're running it as a business, you can't say like, "Oh, that's my personal account." It's like it's inventory. You know, if somebody
I
came and
gotta
offered
push you
me.
on that though. I gotta push you the same way I push Dan. So if it's inventory and it's not for sale, how is that not an investment?
So for me, like, what I wanna do in, like, a few years is just have a better eBay store, right? That has more things, cooler things, more to offer than just slabs. So, like, I have to hang on to it for a certain amount of time to build it out essentially. Like, I don't have a vast inventory,
But while holding it, you're planning on it rising in value, correct?
ideally.
That's an
I mean,
investment, brother.
no, 'cause you're buying it cheap and selling it for more, like. But the problem I have with investment though is like a lot of people that like, because I've been in your chat and a lot of people are like, "Oh, I don't need to sell. I don't need money. Like, I'll never sell." But you're investing in this.
There's
That
always
doesn't
those.
make sense to me.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of people confuse like that. They're trying to use the word investment to sound like to give what they're doing more purpose. Like you're just hoarding booster boxes that you never plan on selling. Like you're not investing. You're just delusional.
I mean, I can see that part of people who say they're never going to sell. I get that, but I mean, just the sake of the when you're buying something to put away for a later date in hopes that it's gonna be worth more. I mean, that is an investment. Like whether like you just want to
But
see
even
it.
like let's say like a booster box, even if I got to break even and I made no money, like that's still okay with me just because I want to attract more people to my eBay store or have like different products.
Absolutely.
So it's
Well,
not
yeah, it's
just
kind
about
of
like,
like
oh, this has to be make me X amount of money. Like I would just want a more diverse inventory, if anything.
yeah. I mean, I've talked to like I haven't really talked to Dan in depth about it. I talked to like Pokey about this. I've talked to a couple other people. I didn't want me to mention their name. I've talked to people who do like large amounts of dollars, like 3 million, 4 million, 5 million a year. And like I mean, one of the things like one of them told me, I forget who, they said, even if I just break even, if I buy 3 million and sell 3 million, and or I make 3 million after fees and everything, and break even, I'm still winning because I'm getting 2% back on all that in my credit card. I'm building all of my allocations for future to have a larger business. I'm growing my customer base, and it's like that's kind of a win in and of itself. Even if you're not like profiting or taking profit out, just growing all those different areas, it can make it worth it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Or
I
get
get
like
that.
get followers for your eBay store. Like I said, just more sales in general. So and I told you before, like I have a lot of sealed product, but I'm not saying that's my personal collection or my investment. Like it's just silly.
Or your what? Your
My
investment?
your investment, like it's not what it is. It's just inventory and that's it. Like it's inventory that's going to be for sale at a certain date,
So,
regardless of what the market price is.
what about the games behind you? Are those inventory ever?
If the right offer comes along, yeah. But like
Got
right now, I don't mind having them on display and enjoying them. Just like everything that I like, all the slabs that I grade, if they don't sell, like they're my personal collection until it sells.
yeah, I got you. I got you. All right, all right. So, I guess another thing I wanted to talk about was, I mean, where do you see the future of this hobby? Are you just kind of, along for the ride? You're just going to keep churning and burning and try to profit along the way, and you don't really know where it's heading, or do you have like a positive outlook on, everything continuing? Do you think we are in some sort of a bubble and it's going to fall off? Like, how do you see things right now?
That bubble talk needs to stop. Like we've been in a bubble for what, like 5 years already, 4 years. Like it's just a normal, like, markets just shift, right? Like I don't think we're in a bubble. I think things just go up in price because more money enters and somebody wants it more than you. Like,
Well, yeah, or I mean, with booster boxes, more get open, less are available, right?
and that's the scary part about like your strategy for like sealed booster boxes, because like if like there's still what Rusty's opening a vintage box every week, two, I think. Is that what he's doing? And he's still not out. And he has modern too. Like there's so much modern out there to be just holding it, saying it's going to go up in price no matter what happens.
It always has.
I mean, until it doesn't.
See, so are you? You kind of don't think the modern thing can last, huh?
I do think it can last, but I just don't think like holding sealed product as your only strategy is the
Yeah, I
best
mean,
thing you
so
can
yeah,
do.
that's what I wanted to talk about. Kind of. So me and Walrus had a pretty long Instagram conversation one night, and
Yeah,
he
you
was,
wouldn't stop. You wouldn't stop DMing me. You mean?
yeah, right. You 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 couldn't. I feel like you couldn't believe it was blowing your mind of like someone not like making an income. Like, am I right? You were just when I was telling you that it was kind of blowing your mind, correct?
Yeah, a little bit. Like,
Did you? I mean, did you understand like what I meant by like kind of like a 401k? How you don't make an income until you retire, though.
yeah, until you're taking the funds out, right?
Yeah, and that's like kind of the same thing as like the way I see
But the
the skill
difference,
investment.
the difference is like you're not making that money until it's sold, though. Right now, you can put whatever value you want on your sealed inventory, your sealed product, your investment. But if it doesn't sell, like that's still worth zero until it sells.
I mean, yes and no. Like for very niche stuff that sell like don't sell very often, it's hard to find a price. But things that sell like daily or weekly at auction, they have a pretty normalized market price. Like you're going to get somewhere near that, so you can get a pretty good idea. Like if I throw an Evolving Skies box out, I'm getting between 350 and 400. I can realistically assign a value to that. Correct.
Probably.
And so like that's kind of how you I mean I think about it, but yeah, so that's kind of like how I think about this stuff is like it's you're putting away for the future. So it's like when you're investing, you're not looking to make an income. It's kind of like when you just every paycheck put money in your 401k. You're not thinking like, well, how am I going to make money off this? You're thinking, well, how much is my next day going to be when I get to retirement age? And like that, I mean, I'm not saying like you can retire off Pokemon or anything. I mean, sure you could, but not going to get into that. I'm just saying that that's how I look at the investment side. It's like I'm putting money that I worked at my job into Pokemon to grow as an investment. I'm not working Pokemon as a job. Now, like when you're talking about making money and you want like buying singles, grading them, flipping slabs, I consider that more like a second job or like, a small business. That's where you want to go to like make money. But like a lot of people they don't have time for it. I mean, I know you may think differently, but I've heard multiple people tell me, it's basically like a second job. Even people that don't agree with me or don't even like me really, will comment and say, I don't know what I'm talking about. I do this all the time. It's basically a second job for me. And I think it's a lot of people, it feels like it's a full second job. And for people who work full time, have kids, families, all the stuff I always say, they might not have time for it. They might not have time to flip Pokemon, but they do have money because they have a good income, good job, whatever, stable career, and they can invest, right? And maybe they already put enough in their 401k. They're paying their house down, like whatever, and they have extra money they want to invest. So like that's where I say, the sealed product play comes in is for long-term investment and less about like, being the best money maker here and now or for the next year. Does that make sense at all?
It makes sense. Like my issue is like how many people are doing that versus having a 401k or being financially secure, right? Because we see it all the time, like on Facebook posts, on Reddit. I need to sell this because my dog got sick. I need $400. Like you don't have $400? Do you have all the sealed product? Like, are you kidding me? So there's like a huge irresponsible like dynamic to it.
That's dynamic. I don't get into, everyone's financial situation is their own. I can't dig into, what you should and shouldn't be doing, but I just find it hard. I just find
I
it
would
hard
just
to see.
rather not say investment and then give people like, oh, I'm doing what he's doing. I'm investing in this. Like, I
But
don't know.
how
I
many
think
years does something need to work before it considers like, established? I mean, it's worked for 25 years.
did it though. Like,
It did.
you bought fossil booster boxes at retail and then they went down to like $30.
Right, but that's the normal ebbs and flows of the market. If you look at any extended period of time, it did well. Like I've talked about it when I came back in the hobby in 15, base set boxes were $800. Like 800 from 80 or 70 when they were released, that's 1,000% in 14 years. Or 15, 16 years. That's an amazing game when you look at the average stock market return of like 100% every 7. So even in the worst time of Pokemon, before the boom, before Pokemon Go, before evolutions, it still had natural growth over time.
But
Even fossil jungle boxes were like $350, $400 back then. Like coming out of the worst time in
boxes,
Pokemon.
though, that's really cheap.
Which sounds cheap, but if you could buy them at $50, $60, that's 500 whatever percent gain, or what is it?
You would have held on to it for like 20 years.
Well, the same thing you're doing with stocks though, or the 401k.
Yeah, but those have like actual value to them. Like you're seeing their actual numbers.
These have actual value. If you can flip something on the market right now and someone will pay it, that's actual value.
The value is just what somebody's
going to pay for.
That's
like saying an expensive watch or a Picasso or something doesn't have an actual value.
Art's just used for money laundering. Don't bring art into this.
Okay, a vintage coin or an antique, like they all have actual value. No,
like a quarter is worth 25 cents. I agree. But that's generally like what I sum it up to. It's like I can't call it an investment and give somebody else like that vehicle to say like, oh, it's an investment. Like it just.
That's fair.
And I don't want to tell people how to spend their money, but it would just seem irresponsible.
All right, I can see I'm not going to get through to you on this issue.
And I agree. Like things are going up in price. Like you're going to sell it for a profit, but somebody will tune in and be like, oh, Nostalgianomics called this an investment and he's successful. I want to be like him. So instead of putting money away for a rainy fund or investing, like I'm going to buy Paldea case or whatever it may be.
So what is it? Is it a time period? Is it just the fact of like, shiny cardboard, you just can't see like actual value being in it? With 10, 15 years, if every set continues to rise booster boxes over the next like 2 to 3 years after they're released, would it then be considered established or safe enough? Like, is there a time period or just never?
Just never.
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 Okay. Oh man, that's fun. Did you have any topics you wanted to talk about?
Who are you grading with? Are you grading with CGC?
That's a great topic. Absolutely not. I will stick with PSA until hell or high water, man. I'm PSA through and through. Not to say I won't ever go for if I like really want to start playing the black label game, maybe. But no, as far as I've only ever graded with PSA since 2016 and never tried anywhere else. What about
even at like the $9 that just got announced?
Yep. Because even you're saving $6, it's kind of like you're stepping over a dollar to pick up a penny. Like you're paying $6 less, but those cards are gonna be worth way less than they would be in a PSA case. It doesn't make sense.
On some of the cards, I agree with you. Like, yeah, on some cards, like people do just want a high grade, and that's it. Like, I wasn't gonna send anything to CGC, but now at like $9, it's like
well, anything under a 10 is gonna be worth less than a PSA. Like a 9 to a 9, 8 to an 8, they're all worth less than a PSA in other companies. All of them.
Yeah, but you're doing the CGC play because you would get a 7 at PSA or an 8.5 at CGC.
So you're talking about grading like less than mint cards.
Yeah, you're not. I'm not sending PSA 10 candidates to CGC. I'm sending cards that I expect a 6 or 7 that I want like an 8 or maybe a 9 on a good day.
Yeah. Okay. See, that could be true. See, I don't. I guess again, I really just stick to modern, and so obviously all modern. If you're not sending in mint, you're not really getting anywhere. So yeah, if you're moving back to like what are you doing, like mid-era vintage or Japanese older, that may make sense if you've got like light play or barely on the edge of near mint cards. Those plays may be there. I'm very ignorant of that. I wouldn't know. So yeah, that makes sense.
And then they have like the advantage too is like that first to market. Like if they're turning it around in 2 weeks on a card that you got on release or a week before, whatever it may be, like you're getting it quicker. That first to market play like is always going to be there.
Yeah, but oh, man, I've watched like per here off the top of my head those Maridon, Corridon, Pokemon Center promos. Literally, I've seen CGC 9.5s go for less at auction than what they're selling for near mint TCG player for.
Yeah.
And so it's just like, that's where I get that thing. It's like, well, if you don't get a 10, you're basically losing out. You might as well sell it raw because you save the grading fee, you save the shipping to and from CGC, and you save the shipping because you can ship it in an envelope as opposed to a bubble mailer or a box. And so I'm like, you're really kind of playing with fire, hoping you get a 10 with those modern cards, because if not, a lot of the times you might, you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, but like if it's a card that's going to get a 10, right? By the time everything comes back from PSA, like that value is going to tank regardless. But if you can get in 2 weeks in a CGC 10, even perfect. Like you're going to make money, and then you use that and just move on from the play instead of waiting, because PSA is at like 3 months right now.
So are
Probably
you
4 soon.
So have you been utilizing a lot of CGC then?
I haven't been, but I'm going to start now with like that price, like that
What
at
have you
that
been doing
price,
before?
like
Just PSA?
yeah.
Have you
I've only
tried
done one
to get
CGC.
black
I've
label
only
stuff?
done one CGC sub, thinking I was going to do more, and then PSA just 15 became the norm, and 1350 CGC to the 15 PSA. It's not that huge savings. So
And what about like back at year, go for the black labels?
that's one of my goals. Like I want to grade like next year, like a Pokemon chase card in a black label, and just get out of poverty with one black label.
What'd you say?
Yeah, like one black label gets you out of debt, man. Like
Get you
$5,000
out
for
of
a black
poverty?
label. Like that's ridiculous.
Dude, I'm looking at your wall. I don't think you're living in too much poverty. You got probably, what, 10K plus in that one shelf alone?
That's until I sell, it's worth nothing. But yeah, like bro,
Hey,
like how much?
hey, video games are always worth something if you can play them. They have some utility to them.
But yeah, like Lugia, the Giratina V, like the Miriam, selling for thousands of dollars just because of a black label. Like you have to try that. Like if you have a perfect card, like you have to try at $16 a Beckett. Like
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I guess the only downside is like the risk of the time, right? Because like you send it into Beckett, take some time, you get it back. It's not a black label. Now what do? You got to crack it, send it to PSA, or you just try to sell it at a lesser cost than you would have gotten PSA 10. I mean, that's why the reward's so high. Is the risk is there. Like you could be going through months before you get that card graded where it should be, or you could be taking less than the card's worth because it's a 9.5. So I mean, there is a risk there.
yeah, I mean, there has to be, right. Like that reward is definitely
Yeah.
there, but yeah, it's just so hard to see like these black labels sell for multiples of what, like 10, 20 times what a PSA 10 goes for.
So here's kind of a controversial subject. Is like, so a lot of the very high volume people, they just get such a high volume that they don't mind nines or like anything that doesn't grade a 10 or whatever they want. They don't mind taking a small loss or breaking even on them, or in that range, like after grading fee. So like example, like they'll buy like a $5 card, and in a 9 it might go for 20 or 22, to where after grading fees and shipping all that you'll actually lose money, but they're banking on getting enough 10s to where it offsets that and makes money. For me, I always like to find like the positive risk reward. I always make sure that I'm going to pay for this card raw. I'm going to grade it. If it gets a 9, I'm still going to make some profit. If it gets a 10, I'm going to hit a home run. Where do you kind of sit? Do you just kind of get like the highest quantity possible of a bunch of cards and get them all in and try to get enough 10s to offset like the 9s and the grading costs? Or are you really selective and only send like cards are going to grade high, or only source cards that are going to grade high?
But is that just your strategy for TCG player because you're not looking at condition, or is that like the cards you looked at from eBay?
No, so even like the ones like I'll send in, like I'll flip them back on the market as near mint before I'll send in a card that I know is going to get a 9 basically, or I think doesn't have a high possibility of a 10. Like Where a lot of people just send a whole bunch and say, maybe I'll get some week 9s, or some week 10s. Maybe I'll get some week 10s thrown in there, and the more 10s, the better, because I'm making X amount on my 10s. I'm breaking even or losing a little on my 9s, and all I need is 2 or 3 10s to offset everything, and everything else is profit. So like they'll play that game because they'll be sending, 20, 30, 40, 50 of the same card. Whereas with me, like I like to be a lot more selective and take the high percentage plays, even though there's less of them out there. Where do you think you sit on that?
Yeah, I don't have like a huge revenue for like grading fees, because like those grading fees adds up if you're just randomly sending.
Like
I think
here,
if it's like,
I'll give you like an example. Like, if a card's 50, you can source it for $50, right? And the 9's going for $60, and the 10's, 100 and something. Would you take the risk on that card,
probably depending on the card, but yeah.
even though you're
I
going to
mean,
lose
we're in
money
a
afterwards?
very good point in the hobby right now where time is your ally. Like everything is just going up in price.
So you'd be okay with even losing money though if it got that 9?
Yeah. I mean, and I told you, like when we were talking, like the Blue Eyes White Dragons I sent in. I bought a few. I sent in 3, 2 got 8s, 1 got a 10. I lost like $5 on the 8, like $5, $7 on the 8s. But the 10 I sold for like 160. Like that's enough. Like obviously it would have been cool if they all got 10s, and the reason I sent them in is because like I was hoping for 10s. It didn't work out, but the overall like break even profit, like I profited off that one small
Right.
submission of 3 cards.
Yeah, and that's kind of my point. That's why I was asking. Is like, are you just trying to send in enough volume and just as long as you get a couple 10s, you're going to be in the profit and just kind of rinse and repeat and do large amounts of sales? Is that kind of what
But
you're
like
up?
right now, like my strategy though is like looking at cards that I think are too cheap that are selling for a profit even as a 10. So that way, if I have a bunch of 10s and I still believe they're going to go up in price, like I'm already ready to sell them when that price continues to go. Like you talked about, like the Sonya from Rebel Clash. Like that card was $20 for so long. Like I have a bunch of them. Like now I think
Rated or
they
raw?
just raw. But like I just got a submission back where I got a bunch of 10s on those. Like they already scaled up to like close to like 100, maybe even more than 100 in a PSA 10.
So do you like? Are you saying you make plays where you'll just flip the raw sometimes? You
I
just
haven't
like,
been selling any raws. I'm gonna start maybe this week or next week. I was talking to Nick about it, who does a lot of raws. He's like already linked me the envelopes and stuff like that. But
yeah, because that's kind of like what I was getting at. It's like, if the 9's not any premium, why not just sell the raws and capture those gains or whatever you had just from holding them?
because like you could still gamble on a 10. Like anytime you
Oh
send
yeah.
anything to get graded is a gamble. And like, it was funny because we were watching. I think we were both in Josh's live last night, and you mentioned he likes those week 10s because it's such a surprise. Like it's such a delight when you know like this card doesn't deserve it, but you get a 10, so now I'm gonna sell it for more money.
Yeah.
Because you're sending cards and you know we're gonna get a 10. It's not surprising when they come back a 10. But you send that card's like, ooh, on a good day it's gonna be a 10, and you get it.
I'd like to argue you never really know, right?
Yeah, I mean everything's a gamble. Like I got a 7 back that a card that I thought was a 10. Like that's
Yeah, oh
it's
yeah,
worth
seven. That's they love that grade. I mean,
like it's
they
worth
will literally give sevens.
$12 if I sell it as a 7.
Yeah,
And
they'll.
now it's in my personal collection.
I don't think I've. I mean, I probably have, but like, I can't even think of many submissions I've ever got back that didn't have at least 1 or 2 sevens, and I'm just like, don't know how. Makes no sense. They just love to throw random sevens on cards.
So like that, like I got back a few 7s. Like I'm gonna crack them, do them to CGC because like at $9, I want to see what CGC thinks about it.
Yeah,
And then if it comes
absolutely.
back a 7, I'm like, oh yeah, I was way off.
No, absolutely. That's just like, I don't know. It makes no rhyme or reason. It's literally what everyone says. It's what kind of grader did you get that day? Unfortunately, it's the human aspect.
And I mean, I think people try to game the system a lot where it's like, oh, I'm only gonna send in 50 cards or I'm only gonna send in 20 because what if I get a good grader? But then like the opposite is never said. Like, what if you got a really good grader and now you missed out because you only sent 20?
So what's your strategy? You usually send just gigantic orders?
No, I'm trying to do like 100 cards a month. So I do 50 at the start and 50 at the end just to keep like a trickle going.
Okay, and then so how do you source 100 cards every single month to grade?
It's hard. I'm probably gonna I'm
One by
probably gonna
one
end up
on eBay is what you're telling me.
yeah, but I'm probably gonna have to cut it back to like 50 just because like it's time consuming.
Yeah, because someone like me, obviously I'm not full time like old school and Dan and all those guys. That just sounds astronomical to me, unless you're doing the thing like, going to TCG Player and buying out a guy who has 20 copies or 50 copies, or just going down eBay and everything that says near mint, buy, getting them all in and then sorting them out then. Like, to actually scroll through and find enough like pictures and cards that look gradable, that just seems very hard to get to 100 a month. Or a lot. It's very time consuming, it seems like. Is it
Yeah,
not
but I
as
mean,
hard as it seems to me?
you're not just casting a broad net on eBay, right? Like, you have cards that you're actively looking for every single day. Like, every day I'll look for the Giratina V because there's just too much profit there to not buy it.
What do you
So
mean
like,
by that, though?
if you get a 10, you're gonna
Yeah,
double
I
your
know, but
money instantly.
that's an if, right?
Everything's an if, though.
Yeah, but
Your
that's the
sealed
problem I
product's
have
an
with
if.
all the graders, is that everyone that's like always like comes at me with grading is like, there's not just profit there. There's profit if you get a 10.
Yeah, that's true.
Like, now, if you're telling me like, hey, you can buy this card mint for $30, in a 9 it's going for 50, and a 10 it's going for 100, then there's just guaranteed profit. But if like
But
if a 9 only breaks you even, and then you still have to ship it, pay eBay fees, you're actually going to lose a little bit. There's not actual profit there. It's just, I got to get lucky and get a 10.
I don't know. That's a lot more work, though, if you're looking up PSA 10 and 9 prices on a card.
So you're going into all these like planning on getting 10s.
Hopefully.
That sounds risky, man.
But that's what I mean. Like, we're not, and that's why I can't just put all your money in sealed product. Like, time is really beneficial in the hobby. Any mistakes you've made before the pandemic, like, they just got wiped away by the price increases.
Yeah.
Like, you overpaid, you bought way too much of one card, like, you made a stupid purchase. Like, you made profit if you sold it. Like, we're entering a market where, like, I'll give you an example, like Marnie from Sword and Shield. I like that card a lot. Yeah, that one. I have another, like, I was buying that card at $30.
The reason I have that card is I actually got to hold it in my hands at my local card shop, and I was like, okay, this is legitimately perfect. I'll buy this one. But I don't think I would have bought that near mint off the web, just because you just never know what kind of little things could be wrong with it. I don't know. I always like to hold the cards in person.
I mean, you're gonna like Collecticon, then there's a lot of card holding.
Yeah, again, I don't want to be that guy. Like, hey, can I take this out of the top loader? Like, be sitting there while everyone's walking around and be like looking at it in the light. I don't want to be that guy.
But that card is worth like what, $250, and a PSA 10 is what I sold it for a couple weeks ago. That's a lot. If you're buying it raw for $50 to $80.
Right.
So like, you just have to plan on getting those 10s, and if it's not like I'm bringing them to collect anything that I don't have as a 10, I'm bringing them to collect. I'm kind of just trying to sell it raw.
So my point, I guess what I'm trying to get at, so when you have a card in mind, so like, I don't know, you can take the Marnie. When you have a card in mind, you're talking like every day you get on eBay and you refresh it, all that, you're not even considering what that's going to sell for if it gets a 9?
No.
So you're only looking at what can I buy it for near mint or mint, and what it's going to sell for as a 10. You're not even taking into consideration the downside?
No.
Man, I gotta get the guts like you have.
It's not like guts or anything. It's just like, you can't. You have to operate at a level that, like, you have to win. So if there's a small doubt, like it's going to come back a 9, you're not going to buy it. But I think when you have that safety net of like, oh, I'm looking for a 9 versus a 10, you're instinctively just going to look for 9s versus 10s. And I think your scale kind of just gets diluted by that process. Like,
Here,
oh,
let
this
me
has
ask
like
you
a
this
white
one
speck
then.
on the back. That's a 9. I can buy it.
Well, let me ask you this. Do you have like an idea of how many cards you buy off eBay that actually you send in to grade because they look good enough?
I have a lot.
No, I mean, like, if you were to buy like 100 cards off eBay, how many of those you think would actually be gradable?
Because eBay has pictures and you're zooming in, so I would hope at least 80 to 80 cards out of the 100.
Okay. No, that's what I was gonna say, that probably like 75 to 80%. That
And I mean,
sounds realistic to me.
and you're looking at the same cards over and over again. Like a Marnie, if you saw one, you know what a centering on that Marnie is going to look like in a 10.
Yeah.
So if it's not a 10 just on centering alone, you're just going to pass. You don't care about condition. But see, if you're looking for 9s, now you're going to look at centering and you're going to look at the back for any damage or white specks.
Yeah. Hey, I want to shout out a long time ago. Don Harrington, thanks for gifting someone a sub in the chat. Really appreciate it, man. TJT was gifted the sub. Thanks, Don. I appreciate that. Guys, I haven't been keeping up with the chat at all. I'm not even going to pretend that I have. And so if anyone just typed any type of questions or wanted anything talked about, retype it, or you just go copy and paste it and put it in right now so I can see it. I'm going to start looking now. There's no way I'm going to scroll through and see the whole chat. So sorry about that. I apologize. We were having a good conversation. I wasn't paying attention. So sorry. I appreciate everyone being here and being in the chat, but I wasn't able to pay attention. Walrus, did you see anything that was a good point you wanted to talk about?
Well, just like I'm reading right now, like Don Harrington, he said, "Why does everyone hate nines? I buy PSA 9 cards for 30 to 50 less than market, and then a year sell them for profit." Like my personal collection is all PSA 9s. Like I don't hate PSA 9s. I don't think they're worse, but if you're selling, would you rather sell 10 or a 9? Right?
I did a really interesting video pretty early on in my channel. If anyone wants to go back and look, I did two videos back to back, and they were talking about one was it was first edition, vintage first edition 9s versus unlimited 10s, and then it was just a PSA 9 compared to PSA 10s in general. And you'd be very surprised. The unlimited 10s actually did better even during the boom than a lot of the first ed 9s. So people value the grade over the first edition stamp, which is kind of wild. And then also 9s in general, it was about, I think it was like 50-50. I can't remember the videos a while ago, but the 9s actually outperform percentage-wise some of the 10s a lot of the time. Believe it or not. And what I mean percentage-wise is if the 10s went from, $500 to $2,000, sometimes the 9s would go from like $50 to like $300, $400, $500 in that same time period. So sometimes the 9s can actually outperform the 10s, as crazy as that sounds.
It's only going to outperform it in like sales, right? Like just
percent gain.
Yeah, but I mean,
like if a 10 goes from 1,000 to 2,000, but the 9 goes from 100 to 400, that actually went up 300%, not just double.
But it's that 10 that's dragging the price up of the 9, though.
Well, like yeah, correct. But what I'm saying is, like, if you're looking to buy cards right now and say the 10's going for 800, but the 9's only going for 80, my mind tells me what's easier, for that 9 to get to 160 or for that 10 to get to 1,600. So I could buy 10. I could buy 10 9s at $80 for $800, or I could buy 110. What's the better play?
Yeah, that was when I was collecting and I was getting like all the WotC sets. Like first edition 9s were going for $20 to $30, while the 10 was like $200-300. Like that just didn't make sense. So like that's why I focus on nothing but 9s. Like I don't.
Nothing but 9s. Okay.
Yeah.
You kind of mentioned it earlier, but pop reports, you don't pay any attention to pop reports?
Not really. I don't think they.
How can you call yourself a part of the Pokenomics Patreon and not pay attention to pop reports?
They don't influence anything. Like it doesn't matter. Like for the card I set, like the Bondi set, I have a Dugon PSA 10 Pop 2 from a set that came out in 1995. I sold it for $350. There's only 2 in the world. Like that card should have been $3 million if pop reports matter.
Well, there's other factors, right?
But like, so like, I don't know.
Ernie, welcome to the channel memberships, man. Nomics Fan Plus, really appreciate it. Just so everyone knows, with the Fan Plus membership, you do get 10% off on every pack when we do pack breaks. So no limit. You can get as many packs as you want, 10% off all of them. Thanks a lot, Ernie. Yeah, so I mean, I think there's some part, for pop reports that they play in the hobby. But I think what's happening right now is I think we need to shift the focus on what we used to think was a high pop. Because I think people are seeing these, 2, 3, 4, 5,000, even 10,000 pops, and they're just getting super scared and thinking, oh my gosh, there's way too many of this graded. It's never going to be worth any money. Really sit down and think about that, though. 10,000 PSA 10s. Is that really too many? When you have, especially when it's like characters like Charizard or something, or Umbreon, you have hundreds of thousands of people, if not millions, that want that card. There's going to be a price point. It may not be as much, maybe less, maybe more. There's always going to be a price point that people are willing to pay for that. And when you have, 100x the amount of people than the cards are available, I think that's what drives the price. And so, yeah, just looking at pop reports alone doesn't do it, but I think it has some portion to play. You know, when I think it's a combination of pop reports and market availability.
I think especially for Pokemon, all that matters to me is like the popularity. Like I don't think Charizard got that expensive because there's 125 in tens.
But then, how would you explain like the super low pop, like vintage stuff that goes for thousands, like the Team Rocket's Magneton from Team Rocket, or like the the Typhlosion, or
but that's what I'm saying. So it's super low pop. Shouldn't they go for more?
Well, they do though. Like
what's the Gem Mint card? The one he needed that Ampharos from Neo.
There you go. That too.
10 grand for a card that there's only like 2 or 3 in the world seems low to me. No?
Well, I think it's relative. Like, what are the other cards in the set going for, right?
But it's a pop 3. It should be going for more than a Charizard.
Well, no, I think
3 people can own it.
There's like a formula. I think there's like a formula, right? Like it's like pop. There's popularity. There's market availability. There's like overall interest in that set, in that card, in that time period. Like, I think there's a lot of factors that go into it where it's not just pop. Like, oh, 3 pops got to be worth this much. I don't think it's just population, but you don't think it plays a part at all?
I don't think, because pops only go down, right? Remember we talked about that. Pops only go down.
Pops only go down.
So what's a low pop to you?
I've changed. I mean, I would say anything under 1,000 these days. I used to be like anything under 200 or 300, but I think because of just the popularity, the scale at which things sell, the amount of people that are at these cards. But I also think it's the era, right? So like, if you look at like a base set unlimited, obviously you have to give those, they're going to have more pops, they're going to have more popularity. But if you look at like a set that's not very popular, like a mid-era set, if something there is 1,000 plus pop, it's going to be very hard for that price to rise, because it's very hard to find 1,000 people that want to pay that much, that actually even know about that set, that care about that set. So I just think it's different for each era, unfortunately.
So what do you think sets like the market price? Do you think it's buy it nows or auctions that are setting the price?
I don't know. They're all over, right? I mean, you'll have auctions and buy it now sell the same day for completely different prices.
I've sold things for like 3x what an auction went for.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which I'm sure everybody has, or you've bought it at auction.
And that's what I was saying. That was one of those factors, the market availability. Like, I have cards listed right now where if I have a card and I'm like searching to see what price it's at, and there's like none available, or there's only one available, it's in the UK or it's in Australia, I'll throw a crazy price because, hey, unless you find an auction, you got to pay this price if you want this card. And sometimes they will sell, and they'll see it in their sold listings. And then like by that time, more people have seen it. Now 5, 10 more on the market and the price is way lower, and they'll think, oh, that must have been a fake sale. Those aren't fake sales. What happens is people will find limited spots in time in the market where cards are not listed, and they'll post one, and the right buyer will come along. And I think you just have to kind of be on the lookout for that.
I've seen auctions go for more than listed now prices too.
Yeah, sometimes you'll have that bidding war, but usually it's not like much more, right? Maybe like 10%.
Yeah. Do you do auctions at all?
Right now, so if anyone wants to pick up cheap stuff, I'm throwing a bunch of random stuff at auction just because I need to get my my top rated seller status back up. So they only gave me until like August 20th to get 100 sales so I can have my top rated seller status stay, because I haven't been selling at all in this past year. And so, yeah, normally I really don't like to auction much, but right now I'm just throwing a bunch of stuff just so I can get sales, just so I can keep my top rated seller type thing. But no,
you had it and they took it away and they gave you.
They haven't taken it away yet, so I'm still getting it. It's just they gave me like a grace period till August 20th. So as long as I get the total sales up to over 100 transactions, I'll keep it, type thing.
So then you're not actively selling.
My feedback's always been 100% and all that.
You're not actively selling at all, like.
We talked about this on Instagram. I wasn't lying to you. No.
Oh, that's crazy.
I have been buying and holding, and like I said, I'm not a shill, right? I'm not a pump and dumper. Like, I truly believe in what I'm saying on these videos. I truly believe in the market. Like, all those XY era cards I bought, I truly believe in XY. I've been buying them and sitting on them. all the sealed product I've been sitting on. Like the only thing I've considered selling some of is the Celebrations UPC, but now with those metal cards like continuing to like move up in value, I'm sitting on those still. I think those UPCs are going to see 500 a box here soon. I mean,
what are they at now?
400, but the metal Charizard selling for like 200 in a 9. The Pikachu selling for like 100 and something is a 9. And then you have the packs going for 6 something a piece, like raw, like just the packs. I'm just like, well, eventually something's going to give. Either the values of the cards have to go down or these UPCs are going to go up because people are going to start cracking them just to grade the stuff. So there'll come a time when I move out of certain positions and move into other things. But right now, I just don't see a need for it. Like, why am I going to sell my Chilling Rain boxes at 140? Why am I going to sell, Fusion Strike?
But I thought you were doing a lot of like card flipping too.
Yeah, so that's just kind of started recently.
You sell the slabs?
What's that?
You're selling slabs, just not sealed then?
Very few. I have slabs listed. I'm not selling many. Like I said, a lot of the cards I'm buying, like I am gonna have stuff I am gonna be selling coming back eventually from TSA that I've sent in. But like a lot of the slabs, like or cards I was grading were stuff I just wanted for the future. Like I just think they're gonna do well in the years to come. I truly believe all of these alt arts in late Sword and Shield are going to continue to move up in value over time. I mean, we're seeing the XY stuff start to move. Sun and Moon obviously had the team up stuff. Like, I think people are grossly underestimating how hard those cards are to pull and how rare they actually are.
I think they're going to go up too. I think rainbows are going to go up from certain sets, like especially.
Yeah, so that's my point. That's my point. Like, I have rainbows, I have alt arts. Would you be selling those?
If there's margin to be made and I can buy more, yeah. And that's what I'm saying. Like, it's better for me right now to, let's say, take an Umbreon from Evolving Skies, than just the rainbow rare. Buying it for 30, grading it, sell it for 60, 70, and a 10. And you can just continuously do that. And then if you can have 10 in the backlog, just constantly burning them, that's a better strategy. Because now you're just selling something.
But I think it comes down to time. So like, put it this way. So like this whole year, right until now, I haven't had to manage an eBay or TCG Player page. I haven't had to wake up and have orders to ship out or be, paying attention to the market, listing things. I haven't had to do any work. I've just been working my full-time job, making videos. Like I don't have to worry about it. Like I think people, and like I said, I'm not like trying to put words in your mouth, but like saying things like, oh, it only takes me X amount of time, or I'm only doing that. I think if like you or a lot of people really dive into their daily like time usage of what they spend doing, research, searching or sourcing, packaging and shipping, dealing with messages from buyers. Like if you take all that in, I mean, most people are spending 15, 20, 25, 30 hours a week on this. And I don't really want to do that. That's too much for me. I have too much other things to do in my life to have that time commitment.
I don't know. Like, and we were talking before, I just think there's too much money right now that's being made.
All right, here, put it this way. Let's say you got a $3,000 raise at your job a month. Would you said you just made $4,000 as your best month. You were only planning on making $1,000 a month. Would it be worth it to you then to keep doing it? Why not just spend more time at your job, continuing to rise up and get promoted and get raises?
Well, because like it's just funding itself too, right? Like you said, I have like 10 grand on my shelf. Like I wouldn't have that if I wasn't flipping. Like that's essentially coming at a zero cost at the end of the day. So like by putting more money into it, you can just achieve more. And like you always have like people talking about like Dan, Nick, like they have this empire. Like they're making so much money. And
but they built that because of the boom though. A lot of it.
But they already had a vast inventory.
All right,
they were already doing this.
Here, I'll throw like a hypothetical at you, okay? For everyone out there, let's say you have like an hourly job, okay, and you're offered as much overtime as you want to work, and you're getting paid 30 an hour, 35 an hour. And so after overtime, you're making 50 an hour. So every hour after 40 hours, you're making $50 an hour. Would you want to put 20 hours a week into overtime or 20 hours a week into flipping Pokemon? 20 hours a week at work is worth 20 times 50. What is that, $1,000? Yeah. So $1,000 extra a week guaranteed, or do you want to risk it, Pokemon, all the stuff that goes into Pokemon?
We got
That's what
some
I'm saying. 'Cause
chat in
you have to look at it as work because it is a business. Like you're flipping is a business. You're working. So you have to kind of make that distinction for yourself is what's worth it. How much time is worth it.
But do you think like people are actually putting that amount of work in their job? Like you have 83 people. How many people watching?
We're up to 96, almost 100. Get in here, people.
Tell them to get off and go to work and put in some overtime. But like you're going to be involved in this, so why not? If you have all these people watching, you're in the background
Yeah, but I don't agree
browsing.
with that either though, because like you can have headphones in listening to a podcast while you're working. You can't sit there and source cards and look at pictures and ship orders and message. You can't do all that stuff. You can always throw a pair of headphones in and work though. So like just because they have time to listen to a podcast doesn't mean they have time to source Pokemon and sell Pokemon.
But I mean, I'm not like the thing too though. Is I think you could always start small and see where it goes. Like focus on one card. Like if your card is going to be the Giratina V, the Marnie, you're only looking for that card every few hours or whatever it's going to be. How long is that going to take you? 5-10 minutes a day.
Yeah, but then again, you're never going to get to that 50, 100 cards a month doing that.
No, but you can get to, what's the minimum of PSA? Like 10, 15, 20 cards?
20, I think.
You can build a sub of that. That's going to give you more profit, more money. Now you can extend your reach.
Yeah,
Would you rather buy a case of Paldea Evolved or 2 Giratina Vs that are going to 9 or 10?
Well, if they both 9, then you're doing a lot of work for nothing. So I guess the case.
But the case is going to sit there doing nothing for how long?
Right, but I'm doing nothing either, right? Like all of my sealed product this whole past year has made me money. I've done nothing. It's been just sitting on a shelf collecting dust. I've done no work, 0. Like, you see where I'm coming from?
No, I get it. But I don't know. I think there's too many opportunity right now to invest
I agree.
thousands.
Yeah,
Sit there.
For anyone who has time, I 100% agree. Like, the only reason I push back on this with people is I think people really downplay the amount of time and effort it takes to actually do this successfully.
But I'd argue, like, I think the majority of people are super invested and involved in the hobby without taking it as seriously as they could. Like, you're super involved.
I have a YouTube channel. Like, I'm engrossed in this every day. Like, that's not the norm.
No, but I mean, the majority of people, like Dan pulls in viewerships. You do. Like everybody's pulling in viewers.
Dan? Like, come on, man! Like Dan's top.
No, but even like the viewers, like the majority of people are super involved already. Why not just take that extra step?
See, I don't know if I agree with that. Like, look, there's 100 people watching, right? There's not 100 people in this chat, right? Like, I can listen to Joe Rogan podcast, but I'm not engrossed in whatever it is they're discussing or doing or whatever. Like, just because someone's listening to a podcast doesn't mean they're that like intense in the hobby. It doesn't mean they know all the ins and outs of Pokemon. It doesn't mean they've ever. So, like you said, people walk up to tables of Collecticon they've never graded, but they could have listened to my channel, or they could have listened to one of our channels.
But I think like the majority of people watching you is because they want to make money.
Yeah, I agree. But that's where like whole investing versus flipping comes in. It's like you want to make money, but how much time do you have, right? Like, you know, that's why there's 401ks, so people don't have to pay attention to the market. That's why there's financial advisors, so people don't have to watch their investments. They just pay someone else to watch it, right? So it's kind of like what sealed products here for is this is something you don't have to be actively engaged in the market. You can buy at or under retail, like nowadays, like $195 a box. You can put it on a shelf, and every time in Pokemon's history, those have gained value over time, and they've outperformed the S&P up till now. And so it's like, it's something you can do without having to be super involved, spend tons of time, do tons of research, have a ton of knowledge.
I don't know. I think when it comes time to sell all those boxes, it's going to take time. And people are going to realize like, oh,
it does. It's like there's quick spurts, right? Like when I go move out of a position, I'll list all of that position. It'll sell in, 1, 2, 3 weeks time. And then I'm done. Then I'm not selling anymore. So like you're just doing work for a small, minuscule amount of time to realize those gains. And then you're moving that money back into new investments on a shelf. You're done for now. Instead of like a constant grind every single day type thing. That's kind of the difference.
I guess we can disagree, but I think.
No, we're not disagreeing. I think there's a spot for both. Like, I think for like people to say like, oh, well, anyone who investing a seal, they should be doing this. Or for me to say, oh, you shouldn't be wasting your time doing this flipping. You could just go get a second job or work more hours. You should be investing. It's like, there's no one right way. I think everyone's life has a different, because if someone's coming home after 40 hours a week and they have 3 kids and they have a wife, maybe they have another hobby, maybe like to golf or something, they might not have time to be that engrossed in the hobby, know all the ins and outs, pay attention to the market, flipping great. They might not have that time on their hands. Other people may have tons of extra time. They're like, man, I'm bored. I wish I could make extra money. Here's your opportunity. Grade and flip Pokemon. So I think there's both routes that you could take. But I don't think there's like a right or wrong.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, it's still a hobby. Like,
yeah. No, I don't think there's a right or wrong. I mean, obviously, everyone flipping right now is making more than people investing, 100%. Like, there's no argument there. Like, you're gonna beat every investor, every single day. Unless you happen to be holding Team Up or Cosmic Eclipse in this last few months.
They went up though, no?
Team Up went from like under $1,000 a box to like 2,200 in a matter of months.
You just broke that box like nothing.
No, I didn't do Team Up. I did Cosmic. Cosmic's like 800 or so.
And the thing is, like, Cosmic is a better set though, too. Like, that's undervalued.
What is?
Cosmic Eclipse.
You think?
At $1,000? And Team Up is double that? Like, Cosmic Eclipse has hit after hit.
I think it's because that Team Up has so much less supply. Like, there was never a reprint with Team Up is the issue. Flip Flap. My thoughts about the Moonbryon case. I think people got burned opening Evolving Skies $500, $1,000 in with no alt art, so they shifted to buy it cash at $1,000, not waste more money. Yeah, I think that's a great point. So that's exactly what you said. Is at what point do people just give up on opening booster boxes, just buy the card, right? And I think that's true, but I think it all comes down to that price point, right? I think like that $300, $400, $500 a box price point. I think anything like there or under is usually pretty liquid. Once you start getting up in the higher hundreds and thousands, that's where you start to have a harder time finding a buyer. I don't know. What do you think about that?
Well, I mean, I think the majority of the buyers that are buying these things they're buying it quickly on their lunch break. Like, they don't have time. They're not going to open product. Like, they just want the card. They're going to pay whatever the price is on the first few listings they see on eBay, and they're going to pull the trigger, and that's it. Like, I think we underestimate, like, especially like with the pandemic, like a lot of business people, a lot of like real adults, like with real money came in. So they want the Moonbryon because everyone's talking about it, and they're just going to pay whatever the price is. They're not looking to resell it. They're not looking for value. They're just buying it because they want it, and that's it.
Yeah, let me get your hold on, Don Harrington, getting ready to send my first batch of 50 off to be graded. Congrats on getting involved. You're making Walrus happy right now. Hope you do well with that one, Don. I want to get your idea on that though. Is this notion nowadays that there's kind of like too many cooks in the kitchen. Like there's too many people buying and holding sealed. There's too many people flipping singles to slabs now. There's just too many sellers and not enough buyers or true collectors. Like, do you think that's actually a problem? Or do you think we are just too engrossed in these discords and this Pokemon investing space on YouTube, and we're around it so much that we don't understand that the majority of the hobby and the buyers, they don't look at stuff this in depth?
No, we're such a large minority.
Yeah.
And like Collecticon was that wake up call. Like, you're just surrounded by people that are grading, holding, flipping, whatever, that you forget. Like, the people that are buying this have no idea how to. I've been to the post office and people don't know how to send a letter through the mail. They don't know how to send a package.
Old card shop, but PC ETBs are the biggest modern bag? Bro.
That guy's so wrong.
Dude, those are like outperforming every single product in Scarlet and Violet.
You know who says that? People that have a distributor only. Nobody else says that.
Exactly. I actually did a video live where the first 20 minutes I broke down every PC ETB, and they basically went hand in hand with most of the booster boxes in Sword and Shield. I think the booster boxes edged them out sometimes, but in my opinion, booster boxes are the most liquid, so I still would have rather been in booster boxes. But as far as Scarlet and Violet, they're not getting reprinted like people think, right? Meridon, the Violet, it's not getting reprinted. Paldea Evolved, it's not getting reprinted. Obsidian Flames and Pokemon 151 are still out. People are speculating they're going to re-release them like when the sets come out. It's yet to be seen.
Well,
These are a much more scarce
on the
product.
Discord, somebody was posting the links for them that they went back up, but they were getting checkout errors. So I'm sure they did a small restock, but it wasn't anything major.
See, I don't believe that. See, what I think is happening is people are canceling their pre-orders. I think when someone cancels a pre-order, it automatically puts the stock back on. And so there's 1 or 3, 4 available, whatever. Like that's what I think's happening. Because I doubt they put a restock on of like 5 or 10 and then they're gone in a second, right?
No, I actually like the Pokemon Center ATVs a lot.
Yeah, old card shop, man. Let us know what your thoughts are. Why do you feel that way? Like they're more scarce. They have that stamp promo, which is exclusive. They're outperforming the booster boxes. We're getting crushed right now in Paldea and Scarlet Violet base, and even Obsidian Flames, man. It's trickling down as we get closer to release. I mean, it's looking like we're going to see sub 600 cases for that as well.
Like the Crown, because I have a few of the Crown Zenith ETB cases. Like they're already like over $400. Like I'll probably just end up selling one of those because like I don't need to. Like
yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Crown
only
Zenith
people with
I don't know. I think Crown Zenith is still undervalued as a whole right now.
Only people with distributor access don't like them. They don't like an even playing field, I think. So.
I mean, I know Old Card Shop has a distributor, but I don't know if he's like a super big account. I don't think he like goes real hard with it. I don't know. He might.
I don't know, man. That guy used to be a pack ripper on the worst streaming platform there is.
Throwing shade.
So he has to have a lot of like he would have had to have like huge allocations, I'm sure.
Let's see. Nostalgianomics, the sale are slow. Just buy your $1 cards with another account of yours. What?
I think he's saying because you put up like all the cards on eBay. So just make a second account and just buy your own cards for $1.
But then you'd have to ship them all too. Because you have to have the tracking like actually arrive and stuff to qualify for the top rated seller. So you'd actually have to ship all of those to yourself at another address, right?
No, you can upload like the same shipping for multiple packages, right? Or is there a limit to how many you can do?
What I'm saying, like you couldn't ship it to your own ad, like I couldn't ship it back to me. They would know, I would have to like have my parents like ship it to my parents or something, right?
I mean, but you're running auctions, so they're going to sell even if it's $1 or whatever.
It's all just junk, like $1 to $5 cards. Like I don't care if they go for 99 cents. Like I don't care if I lose money or whatever. I just need the sales. I just need 100 sales. It's funny to think about, but that's where we're at. Because I mean that adds up. That 10% discount for the top rated seller when you sell. I mean that adds up a lot.
Yeah, it brings it down to 12 something.
Right, and if you're selling, high value items, you're coming out. Let's see. Old Car Shop still posted in chat, but he's not answering my question. I want to know why the PC ETBs are the biggest bags. I'm very interested in that. Hey, so when you buy sealed product, are you just going for like booster boxes and PC ETBs, or are you moving into other things like more specialty products?
Like if I go to the store and I see them or something, like it's just like an impulse buy that I'll just never open because like I stopped opening product a while ago. But yeah, it's just pretty much because this shit takes up so much space already.
I can't imagine buying and grading a card for 20 profit. That's way too much time wasted. LOL. Time is money. Go work at McDonald's. Oh, jeez. That's hilarious.
$20 profit. This man's crazy. You do that 8 times a day? That's your job.
8 times a day?
If you're selling 8 cards at $20, you just made a day's. What's the average pay in the US? Like 15, 16 bucks. And like that's the thing too, right? If you start like to really break it down, like making $20 on a flip is an insane amount of money. That's literally an hour of somebody else's life that we're just doing and taking it for granted.
I'm at the part where Alex said he hasn't sold anything in the last year. I believe it. I mean, I didn't say I didn't sell anything, but like little to nothing. Maybe if I had, like I said, I'll list my slabs like really high on some stuff just because there's none other available, and I'll just sit and hope and pray.
So are you just waiting for a best offer to come along?
Yeah. I mean, like. There's multiple cards where like the last one at auction sold for like $80 something. I'll list it at $199.97 or something, and I'll get an offer for like $150 or $175 and take it. I'll take it, you know. Let's see. Yeah, I am way back, I guess, is my problem. Do you see anything you wanted to take?
What's your sweet spot for selling booster boxes at?
Like 300 to 500.
Anything after that is just too difficult.
It's just too. It becomes very illiquid, and so it's like, you know, unless you know, right now, like Sun and Moon's really liquid because like it's hyped. But if you look at a lot of that stuff when it gets like in the 700, 800, 1,000 plus range, they sell very, you know, few and far between. You might, and especially if you're sitting on, you know, multiple cases, you know, 3, 4 cases, it's just going to be a long drawn out road. And I'd rather just, and also the other reason, it's not just because of that. The other reason is like I talked about, what's easier for a brand new box to go from $95 to $200 or for a $500 box to go to $1,000. So I'd rather sell out of a $500 box, buy 5 new boxes at 95 and let those grow. Like once that first like part of its life cycle has already been through on sealed product, it's much easier to just hop in new sealed product and let it go through its intense growth phase. Because that slow growth that you're going to have on those higher end items over time is just much slower than you can get on brand new items. Is kind of my feeling on it.
So what's your average, like what's your oldest booster box you're holding?
I don't have any old booster boxes anymore. Sword and Shield. Base.
And when that reaches a price point, you'll just go into...
So I sold all my Evolving Skies, unfortunately, because of all the everyone said it was going to reprint. Everyone said it was going to reprint, didn't want to lose all the gains. So I sold that at around 300. Some actually a little less than 300. So I missed out on that. Sword and Shield base. I mean, I still have Evolving Skies is the only thing I have nothing of. Like zero. I don't have one box. I've actually joked about buying one box for $400 just to have it in my collection because I thought I was going to buy multiple more cases when the reprint came. Everything else, I always try to keep a case of. So if I buy 2 or 3 cases, I'll sell the 1 or 2 extra and get my money back or get some profit. I've went back to keeping one case. When the pandemic, all the craziness happened, I literally sold every single box I had. I had everything back to XY base. So every XY set, every Sun and Moon set, and I had some Sword and Shield back then.
So at what price point do you recommend people not buy any sealed booster boxes?
It's hard, man. It's really hard after, you know, when you look at sets like Flashfire, you know, Phantom Forces, Team Up, and you look at Evolving Skies and you say, well, this is the best set in this era. This is arguably a better set than those. What do you do? Like that set could be $1,500, $2,000. It could be one day. But like for me, I like to get my positions early. I would rather miss out than get in, like try to get in on the way up and get caught. But at the same time, I'm not saying I'm not considering buying more Sword and Shield.
So like I was looking at
I guess under
because Astral Radiance is like 150. So I was like, oh, that kind of seems high, but maybe not if we don't get a reprint.
Yeah. Like that's what I'm saying. A lot of those Sword and Shield sets that are like 140s, 130s. I can't say those are bad buy. I can't say like I wouldn't buy those. Like normally I like to get in like 95, 100, 105, right? Like when the boxes are low. But it's hard to say those aren't going to be good plays. Like there's a very real possibility those are going to be better plays than buying Scarlet and Violet at 90, 95. I mean, there's a very real possibility all those boxes could be $200 before Scarlet and Violet and Paldea move up 10, 20%. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, they're still in print technically. So.
Yeah. And as like, I think Darkness Ablaze and Vivid Voltage and those sets have now went out of rotation, I believe. Like they're out of print. So we're starting to see Darkness Blaze already move up. And Darkness Blaze has nothing going for it. It's got a Charizard that sells for 100 and a PSA 10. And now they're going
$30 raw. That's a good. That's good.
What?
It's good margins. $30 raw, right?
What I'm saying though is the box is going for 160. So it's like you open a box where it's like extremely hard to pull that Charizard VMAX. If you get lucky, pull that perfect card, and then you get lucky and grade it a 10, your only reward is $100 for a 160 box. This is where people it doesn't make sense to them. Like this box has to be, pump and dump. It's got to be scammed. No one would ever actually buy this for 160. It's just the way sealed product moves. Like, it just doesn't make sense, but over time it just becomes more valuable because it becomes more scarce.
So do you think just like we're at a point where sealed product, it just matters because it's sealed, not what's inside?
Right. I think it's always been that way. I mean, you can look back at like emerging powers, right? Like, there's nothing inside of that. You can look back at Steam Siege. There's nothing inside of that. It's going for over $400 now.
Doesn't Steam Siege have like the Gardevoir?
Yeah, the Secret of
That's a nice
Gardevoir.
card.
All right, Crimson Invasion, right? It's moving. It's $200 a box now, almost.
Is that cheap?
That cheap.
Dang.
But that's the worst set in the whole era. So like, that's why I always recommend like getting a position in each set, so you don't have to like be a good set picker. Because if you like average everything out, like, oh, I got Crimson Invasion, this sucks. Well, I got Team Up and Cosmic Eclipse also, so it all averages out, right? You can't go wrong when you diversify over every set. But there's plenty of terrible sets. Like, when you go back and like you'll look at the expected value, and you'll even look at the PSA 10 prices, and you're like, so I can't come out ahead on this. And it's like, no, you can't. Why would anyone buy this box? Just for the collectability of the sealed product, right? It's like those video games. They're sealed. Like, it's just, they're collectible because they're still sealed. There's thousands of, like, there's tons of them on the market, complete in box. It's the same thing. It doesn't have the plastic on it, but they're worth so much because they're still sealed. Does that not make any sense? You think it's crazy?
No, I because you do sealed. Like, I haven't sold any sealed products like ever. Like, I just have it. I'm just curious because it just seems like.
Do you like the collecting aspect of sealed? Like,
I think it looks like I have some booster boxes up on my shelf, and I think they look cool, but
because like in my mind, like, this is obviously complete opinion. Everyone can have a different opinion, but in my mind, sealed boxes are much better to display than PSA cards.
When you put, I would argue the ETBs display better.
What's that?
The ETBs display better.
Yeah, both. Like, the box, or when you put them in those acrylic cases and stack them on shelves, it's such a better experience than having a bunch of PSA cards on stands. Like, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's why I like the video games a lot better.
Yeah, and so like, I think that's what people are missing. Like, there's a lot of sealed collectors out there. Just, they inherently like the sealed product. It's not for the opening aspect, right? It's got a lot of different dimensions to it. I don't
know. Old card shop.
Maybe it all goes to zero. What?
At the old card shop just answered at the very end.
Oh, I see it. If you like a set, it's better to own the booster box and the set rather than the ETB, especially the PC one. That's my assessment. I'm with you on the ETB, man. The PC ETB though, I don't know.
And you'd be surprised how many people don't even know how to get those ETBs. They don't even know about the Pokemon Center. They don't know.
Yeah, and Kevin says your gains could go back down. You're not making money holding. But I mean, I get that, but that's the same argument I can make for everyone holding a stock too, though, right? Or like on their real estate. Like, okay, real estate's higher than it's ever been. Why not sell your house now? Take your profits, right? You're not going to make money until it sells. Or why not sell your stocks? And because of the stock market, it's like you could always make that argument when investing. A lot of people disagreeing about the $20 profit. A lot of people are like, old school. We got old card shop. They're liking the $20 profit per card. They're on your side.
Any profit is good profit. Why are people so against profits?
I'm not against profits. If flipping Pokemon was as easy as everyone says, none of you would have real jobs. How do you respond to that, Mr. Walrus?
I mean, this is a hobby, essentially, right? Like, would you want to get to one point where you can do this full time? I think everybody would. But you have to build huge numbers in order to get to that point.
Well, here's a perfect, all right. When you have 200K salary, you don't need to flip a card. If you have 200K with flipping card because your job don't provide it, you're going to hit a wall because it does take a lot of specialty knowledge. So I think there's a really good nugget of like a question in there is, I'm not going to ask you like what you make or whatever, but is there a number that your career could pay you that you wouldn't waste your time doing this? Would
But
it be
that's the thing,
double,
like,
triple your salary? Like if you made triple your salary right now and you got in that kind of position, would you still spend time trying to flip Pokemon?
and that's the thing though, right? Like, I'm not flipping it to sustain myself. Like,
Right,
I'm
right. But like,
flipping it because it's a hobby and because it's affording me to have these things that I wouldn't have otherwise. Like, I'll
right.
take the
So if
Giratina.
you were making triple and you could afford them otherwise, would it still make sense for you?
Yeah. I mean, I think maybe you'd have, like, maybe a little bit more starting capital to go in, but, like, the Giratina V, at a PSA 10 or even raw, $300, I don't think it makes sense to own that card for me. But I bought it, I own it now, it's a PSA, when it comes back until it flips, it's mine.
So
Like, I
you don't
owned it
think
for
there's
that brief period of time.
so you wouldn't think there's a dollar amount like that you could be making salary wise. Like if you were making $250,000 a year, you still think you would want to flip Pokemon?
Maybe I would be more flexible with the profits that I can take away, because now, like, oh, like, maybe I can afford to lose a little bit versus I have to have a higher percentage of money to make. But, like, I don't wanna own the Giratina V for 900 bucks in a 10. I don't wanna own it for 300. But if I can buy it, hold it for a little bit, enjoy it, flex with it on Instagram, and then sell it to make money. So this is still like a huge hobby. Like, I enjoy getting cards. I enjoy looking at them. Doesn't mean I wanna own them forever or be the end. Like, all the cards you're buying, like, you see yourself holding them forever.
Ernie said respectfully, I think he meant watch. I don't watch NN because I'm trying to make money as much as I want to know what everyone else is doing so I can maneuver appropriately. That's pretty funny. Yeah, I mean, honestly, that is a good reason to like kind of get stay in tune with the community, just to know where the money and the hype is moving, right?
But, I mean, even if, like, look at the even if we were all to do the same thing, like, a lot of these plays are plentiful, where there's enough buyers out there that aren't in our little small community that are gonna absorb whatever we're doing.
Wait, say that again? What?
Like, I think, like, if everybody here just started buying Moonbryons and reselling them, there's enough people that are buying them. It doesn't matter.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think Dan proved that with the celebrations, video he made, where he like all the, he was able to just buy and sell celebration Charizards like they were, hotcakes. I mean, the demand, the liquidity in the market in modern is just it's bigger than anyone realizes, I think, and I think that's why, like, there's like two arguments to be had. It's like, oh, well, everyone's got these giant sealed stashes in their basements and closets. It's like, well, look at like how many of those boxes sell per day just on like eBay TCG Player. Then you have like all the other private sales, then you have Facebook, then you have the local card shops. Like hundreds of these boxes are moving daily. And so, I mean, with that much being sold, there's going to come a time where even these closet collections and these people who have stuff in their basement, those will hit the market and they'll get flushed out pretty quickly. So I mean, I think there's always an argument to be had on both sides. Like, yeah, you could take the bearish stance of there's going to be too much product, but the bullish side of that is there's just so much demand. There's always going to be a lot of demand for these sets, and there's going to be enough money to buy them, to continue to buy them in the future. I don't know what the right answer is. I'm just saying those are the two sides. I'm making my bets that there's going to be enough demand. Could be wrong.
But even then, like, you'd be comfortable holding it for whatever amount of time and just breaking even, right? As long as you don't lose money, you're fine.
Well, I think that's like that's it all comes with time. If you would have started, kind of, I don't know, back even after the boom, like 2021, 2022, and you would have just started buying a case of, or two cases, whatever, however much you want to buy of every single set, or two boxes, whatever it may be, of every single set. It's like at this time right now, like today, you could sell Sword and Shield base for 300. You can sell Rebel Clash for 220, 240. You can go sell your Evolving Skies. You can sell your Celebrations ETBs for 80 when you bought them for 50. Like, you can go sell a lot of your extra stash, realize the profits, almost pay for the other box or case you're holding. And now that's risk-free. Even if those drop in half in the future, it's all profit anyway. And so, like, as the years go on and you do this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years and you build up enough inventory, you can sell off half your inventory, recoup all your original money, make some profit. Now you're net negative, you're net zero in that item. And like, that's the main goal with the sealed investing, is to eventually like take out some of your investment, take out all your original investment, keep the rest for long-term holdings, and it's risk-free.
Where do you
And
put
like
the
I
money
said,
you're taking out?
what's that?
Where should people put the money they're taking out?
In the new product.
Oh, so you're just recycling essentially.
Continue rinse and repeat, and then you eventually build up a large enough nest egg by the end, 10, 15, 20 years, that's basically like a 401k would be, right? Where at the end of your life, then you can sell off all your stash and you have a large nest egg for retirement type thing. That's like my vision, my goal. Will it be right? We don't know. We can trash me all and say it's not going to work, and we can do that all we want, but that's the path that I take. I always buy a good amount in the beginning, and I always sell off part of the investment as they rise. And
So if you had to only do one thing, loving Pokemon as much, it would only be sealed. Like you wouldn't get into cards or anything like that's where you would.
Yeah, I think it's just person by person. When I started collecting again, I will say I did buy the first 3 sets, base, jungle, and fossil. After that, everything I bought was sealed until I got into grading. Everything. I bought sealed blisters. I bought like that old demo pack. I bought all the theme decks. I started buying boxes. Every single thing I bought the sealed Southern Islands binder. It was sealed. It wasn't open. So everything I bought was sealed. And so I guess it's depends on what kind of collector you are, in the end. Because I'm just a sealed guy. If I had to pick one or the other, I'd take sealed all day over.
So you would be happy just collecting nothing but sealed.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably what people don't understand about you, though, is like that's what you want to collect. That's what you really like. I think people are just seeing it like, oh, like you're just trying to make money and all that stuff. But if like you're genuinely
you are too, right? I mean,
product,
obviously, I don't get any enjoyment out of cardboard boxes in my basement, like stacked up. But like, I get enjoyment out of having like one of every booster box sealed.
I think that's what people misinterpret. I think when people talk about you, they just misinterpret you as saying like buy sealed, it's going to go up no matter what. But like you actually enjoy having it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I hate to get on that bandwagon of like, kind of the cop out, because I don't like to give cop outs. I don't like to sit the fence. I'll just give my opinions and what I think, and it's right or wrong, whatever. But like, I don't get into the whole thing of, well, if it all tanks, I can still open it. It's like, yeah, okay, you can always open sealed product and have fun, but that's not like in my mind. Like, I don't have that in the back of my mind. Well, if it's all tanks, I can open it one day. No, I truly believe in the investment value of it. I truly believe, and I've said it before, I truly believe every single Sword and Shield set from Battle Styles on is going to be over $200 a box in the next couple of years. Every set with those alt arts in them are going to be over $200. That's what I believe. For better or worse. What do you think about that?
No, I mean, as long as you like the product, I think that's where the disconnect is. Like, you genuinely like sealed product.
Yeah,
like you would collect it even if it had
my first purchases like after the base set jungle fossil sets. I purchased the starter deck and all the base set theme decks, and then I moved into the jungle and fossil theme decks, and then I started buying the blisters. Then I started buying like all the different sealed packs. I had like the regular base, the 1999 2000 base, the black triangle base, the long crimp, the shadowless longer crimps. Like I started like collecting all the different sealed like sealed packs and sealed products and blister packs, and then I got into sealed boxes, and it just kind of grew from there. And so like, yeah, even before I was investing, I was just buying those for like display in my collection. Like back then, this is like 2015, 2016 time. So before I even knew this was an investment, this was just me buying to collect. Like
I've never heard you.
I always say I was spending money. I was spending.
I've never heard you talk like you're passionate about sealed. Like that's like if your collection would dwindle down to anything, like you would hold sealed because you like it.
I talked about before. I never plan on selling my WotC boxes. Like those were locked in a safe. I plan to hold those till the day I died. Like maybe like before I died, I'd open them or something. I was never gonna sell all my WotC sealed boxes, and it like you talk about. It comes a time when even though it's your collection and it's not for sale, when things go from 2,000 a box to 20,000, unless you're rich, you're gonna sell that.
I mean, yeah, somebody values it more than you do. Like at a certain point, like even if you underpaid for something, it still has some kind of monetary value to you. And once somebody once it exceeds that, like you're like, yeah, it's not worth that much to me.
Yeah, I mean, like, so, like, here, if someone gave me, I mean, I could ask you the same question. If someone gave you like a chance that, hey, you have to spend this 15 or 20 grand, what do you want? Do you want this Charizard card, or do you want this sealed base set box or something? I'll take the box, like, all day. Like, would you feel that way?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, and so I mean, that's what I'm saying. Like, that's where, like, I get into that kind of like debate. It's like, well, the collectors are not just there for the cards; they're there for the sealed product. It's got multi functions to it. Let's see. Trying to find stuff. Old card shop kind of said what you said. I have found that most people in the hobby will never sell a card. It's kind of what it's getting to, isn't it? Do you see anything you wanted to talk about?
I think you, Small Fish at the end, has asked that twice. Like, you're bullish on Crown Zenith.
Oh, you said you're bullish on Crown Zenith. When or what will the bottoming look like? Regular ETBs, fantastic set, but prices keep dropping for singles. I think this is. I mean, I can't see it going too much lower. If you can pick up these ETBs for $50 to $54, we've already seen the massive crash. Most of the cards now are starting to stabilize. They're not dropping anymore. They're kind of going stagnant. That's what I look for when I see things kind of leveling out. And so I talked about it. I just bought a case. I just bought a case of Crown Zenith ETBs recently. So I'm still purchasing them, and I already own some. And so
The regular ones?
yeah. What's that? The
The
regular.
regular ETBs or the Crown?
Yeah,
Or the
just the
Pokemon
regular.
Center? How much
Just
are
the
those
regular
at now?
ETBs. What's that?
How much are those at now?
Low 50s.
That's high.
Yeah, they're not moving yet. But in my mind, that's right up there with Evolving Skies as a set quality. What do you think?
I don't know. I have the Pokemon Center ETBs, and that's really like all I'm doing to do. Like all the ETBs that I have, I usually buy them when they're like super cheap. Like I have Astral Radiance, like Shining. What's the one with
Oh,
the
so you'll
Arceus?
buy ETBs even from like regular sets that have booster boxes?
Yeah, just because like for Black Friday, like Astral Radiance was like $24, $22. Like
That's
if you're buying 6 of those, like it seems as low risk as possible, even just for the raw packs alone, even if you were to break it down.
absolutely.
It just seems like at 20 bucks, even if you were managing to get like whatever retails at the time, like 40, 45, like it just seems like a nice inventory item to have. So I bought them. Because I was talking to Nick and he's like, "Oh, I paid 26 for those. That's a good price."
Yeah.
So I was like, "Oh yeah, like then I'll buy them every day at that price then."
Well, it's the same thing we're seeing with Scarlet and Violet right now. Like you can buy booster boxes for less than the distributors are paying.
I mean, look at the because GameStop has like that huge sale too with like Paldea
Yeah, what was it, like buy one get one free or something?
and then like the booster bundles are they're like 19. They were like $12 for the pre-release kits. I have like 4 booster packs in them.
So
Nick's
you're
like,
just
"Oh, I'm
taking
buying."
advantage of like any and every play that presents itself type thing.
Like that one I passed on just because like it takes up a lot of space, but like that's something that's like easy money that you can just keep doing.
Yeah. So Zach, you said Cosmic Eclipse booster boxes should be 3K in my opinion. You said they were undervalued too. I think the issue with Cosmic Eclipse is they had just all those packs released and all those different products like after the fact in Sword and Shield. Like the Arceus box, there were like tins with Cosmic Eclipse. There's just so many Cosmic Eclipse loose packs out there. In my mind, I hate loose packs. I think their pull rates are terrible. That's why my box breaks, I always try to have sealed boxes, but they do keep the box price down because at a certain point, people will say, well, I can buy 36 loose packs for 400. Why am I going to pay 900 for a box?
Yeah, I think like loose packs on TCG Player were like $11, $12
Yeah.
for a long time.
They're still like that. I think you can still buy 36 for like $400. And it's literally half of a booster box. And,
I mean, even at that, like half of a boot, like at $400 for the booster box, that seems like really cheap just for loose packs. That seems really cheap.
it does. There's just so many out there. You know? Think it's a buy? Think it's a play? You heard it here.
I think
Mr. Walrus says Cosmic Eclipse loose packs are a play.
I think like I told you like at $1,000, Cosmic Eclipse is cheap. Like there's a Lily in there. You have the what's that girl called? I don't remember her name.
And
There's
Cosmic.
another waifu. Roseanne, Rosalina. something like
Maybe.
that.
I don't know. I don't know the waifus that well. I know it was always the Palkia, Dialga, God, what's the other one? Arceus.
Giratina?
I think it
Oh
was
yeah, Arceus, the
Yeah, I think it
stone
was
figure,
always
right?
that card that was number one until the waifu craze.
Yeah, like, and that's such a terrible card. Like, it's just the monument, right?
Boo Boo. Pokemon has maybe 3 to 5 years left. How do you feel about that?
Even if it steadily declines, starting now, it could still go for like 10 to 15 years.
Yeah,
Like, I
3 to
think if
5
even if
years.
Pokemon were to die, there'd be so much demand and just selling and rebuying cards from everybody. Like, nobody would leave the hobby.
Yeah, I think people underestimate how hard it is for humans like to change their nature, like their like day-to-day activities. Like like you have your kind of routine, right? You know, whatever people do in the morning. They get up, they drink their coffee, maybe they watch some Pokemon content, maybe they surf eBay, or maybe that's what they do at night. Like they're so engrossed in the hobby. They have their collection goals in mind. They're still trying to find these cards, then new sets come out, now they like these cards. And because of social media, it keeps people consistently engaged. You see news on TikTok, and there's news on YouTube, and there's news here, and you're always seeing new stuff, and you're always wanting new stuff. I just think there's enough to keep people engaged and wanting more. Unless like life as we know it changes in the next 3 to 5 years,
I
I can't see Pokemon
also
dying.
I also think if there's less money going to new products, like there's just going to be more money just trickling in constantly buying anything available. Like now you're not saving for 151. Now you're taking all that money and just buying everything that's at the market or whatever you can get your hands on.
Yeah. I got 3 cases of evolving ETBs recently, first wave. Is there a difference in like the first wave and the second wave?
Not that I'm aware. Maybe.
Just look, some store are closing, so you can find it at a good price. Got them for 600 each. 600 each a case? Oh, wow, that is a good deal. Nice pickup there.
For ETBs?
For a case
I mean,
of
at
Evolving Skies?
$55?
I
What do
think
they go
Evolving
for
Skies are
then?
like 800s.
That's a lot.
Here he said, I already have an offer of 800 US. Yeah, I know I'm pretty sure that's what the market's at right now, is in 800s.
Oh, that's an easy flip then.
Sword and Shield base or Rebel trash?
I actually really like Sword and Shield base.
I do
I
too.
think it's an underrated set. I think the Snorlax is awesome. The Marnie's great. Like it has really
Another
like nice
card.
cards.
That's another card I bought. I bought for my collection. I'm not selling it, but I think that Snorlax is going to do well in the future.
And it just seems like there's such low supply of it.
Yeah, there
And
is.
I mean,
That was still during like the end of the boom. They didn't. Sword and Shield and Rebel Clash didn't get printed the way Vivid Voltage and Darkness did. That's why they're so high though already. I mean, they're kind of already properly priced. I mean, $300 for a base set box, that's already more than a Sun and Moon base set is.
yeah, I have a few Sword and Shield. I really like the set. I think the box looks nice. Simple.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy because like Sun and Moon was the first set to start with rainbow rares. Sword and Shield base didn't really have anything special to it. They didn't
With
start off.
but with Sun and Moon base set, were they still doing like that ugly plain art of just like one background color?
Maybe
Like the
that's really.
Greninja, I just remember it being like all blue in the back.
Here we go. For the price of 2 PC ETBs, you could have a booster box and more than twice the amount of packs. PC ETBs are awful, but I will admit the stamp promo SV makes them slightly better, but not enough. I don't know, old card shop. I mean, from like a pack opener's perspective, obviously, for like a value perspective, we'll see. I can't see the PC ETBs being. I mean, I don't know. I can't see the booster boxes outperforming them right now. We'll see. Everything in the collectibles is based on scarcity, I feel like. I feel like there's enough scarcity with those products.
Yeah, and with the new promos they just added, they just increased the likability of those, like special stamp.
Yeah, he has said he feels it's better to own the booster box over the ETB, which I agree. Like for my collection, I want to have a booster box of every set over a PC ETB. I'm just going off what I see the market doing and how the market's valuing these promo cards. It's kind of astronomical. The Meridon is the second highest price card next to the Miriam in Scarlet Violet base. The PC promo, like the second highest value card in the whole set. That's kind of crazy. Like that has to be looked at.
But that's just with the Pokemon Center exclusive stamp, right? Not the regular.
Right. That's all it's got. Let's see. You small fish. You said you are bullish Crown Zenith when. All right, come on. That question. I answered that. Small fish. I already answered that. I like booster boxes to display just as much as more in ETBs because they aren't an actual trash product. Don, I need to do that. I'm not on Discord much, and when I am, I need to get up on it. I need to learn it. I need to learn how to create my own page. I'm going to get on that. Don't worry, because I do want to do that. I do want to be on Discord more. Me and Mr. Walworth were just talking about it. I recently left a couple Discord groups. Just wasn't my scene. So I definitely want to, I definitely do want to get a Discord going for everyone in here. So stay tuned on that, guys. I will have a Discord coming here soon. Let's see. You guys got any other questions for us before we let you go? Mr. Walrus, do you have any thoughts about everything we've talked about here today?
No, really good discussion. And do you see like Dan rated you because like he's off work?
Dan rated us?
Yeah.
Catch him up. Dude, I appreciate it, Dan. I appreciate it. I messaged Dan right before this. I was like, man, we specifically made this Wednesday so we wouldn't overlap with Pokey Flips. And then Dan goes live the same time anyway on his own channel. So
oh yeah, he talked about it on Discord. I guess that's why you didn't see it. I didn't realize you weren't in there anymore.
Yeah.
I told him to jump in as a surprise guest. I guess that's why I thought you would see it or something.
Wait, what was going on?
I told him because his live was scheduled. I'm like, oh, just jump in with us as a special guest.
Oh, he
did. I
didn't.
thought you would see it, but I guess since you're not in there.
I mean, I always welcome to come on. Dan, if you want to, you're always welcome to come on the channel, man.
Dan's off the clock now. It's 4:30.
He does. He runs it like a business, doesn't he?
That's great. Like, I applaud that, honestly.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. Pokemart USA, he does the same thing. He's got a schedule. He sticks to his schedule. He's, has his lives at the same time. Like, for me, I love the freedom of like YouTube, being able to just post whenever, have lives whenever. Sometimes they're the day, sometimes they're the night. I don't do well with structure, unfortunately.
So what made you start doing lives versus like just your pre-recorded?
I guess just wanting to kind of get more involved in the community. See, like I haven't been like a lot of people. I haven't gotten involved at all in the community. Like, I don't know all the people, like I'm not, obviously I'm not involved in either like groups or, go to the collecticons or hang out afterwards and go to the dinners or the hangouts. Like, I've just never been involved in the community. So I don't know anybody. And so that was kind of the whole thinking behind it was, hey, this is the way to kind of get to meet people. It's kind of get to know people more because I've never met anyone. So that was the main reason. And then also was to bring a different perspective to all the people that watch my channel, because they get my perspective all the time. But I want them to have like anyone who doesn't watch these other channels to get other sides of the hobby, like just like you, like hear the whole flipping side and how that works, because that's not something that I'm going to talk about much, especially like in depth, and just things like that, to see like all these different avenues, because I truly believe there's a different route for everyone. There's no one size fits all. There's no right or wrong.
So you're going to Collecticon this weekend. If it goes well, you're going to stop by Charlotte.
I got to see how far of a drive Charlotte is for me.
I mean, we're driving from here, and I think it's like 9 hours from here. You have to be closer than Chicago.
Oh, you're in Chicago?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm in suburb of St. Louis. So it's got to be roughly the same.
Maybe like 2-3 hours less, if anything. I still have to drive through St. Louis to get there.
See, we're going on a 2-week vacation to Florida here in August. And so it's like I'm doing a lot of driving already, because we're driving there as well, which is like 13 hours. So I got a lot of driving to do. Maybe though, if it goes well, if I like it, I guess. I know everyone's why is it? Why does everyone choose like these certain collecticons to go to? Like, why is Charlotte a big one? Why is Denver a big one? Like, I don't understand.
Yeah, I think it's just Well, there's a lot of people in Texas.
Okay.
Like a lot of like, I think Basic was in chat right now. Like he's in Texas.
Well, I think a lot of people are in Florida too.
Yeah, a lot of like Thrifty, Nesta, a lot like Ray's in Florida, Weedle.
Which that makes sense because, like, Florida, I mean, it's nice all year round. Orlando's an awesome, like, a hot spot. So that makes sense to be big. It's just some of these other ones, I'm like, why? I don't know. Charlotte, North Carolina, I'm just like, okay, I guess that makes sense. I would think Long Beach
Charlotte's
would
near
be a huge one.
Florida.
California.
Nah, I'm just gonna try to go. I think Charlotte might be like my last one vending for a while.
Really?
Yeah, I want to walk around a few, see how the vibe is, just purchase and stuff like that. Because like you're behind your table, like
Yeah, people kept offering me a table or like a part of their table. I'm like, no, guys, I just want to go and I just want to walk around, enjoy it, talk to people, maybe buy some stuff, maybe crack some packs. Like, I just want to go have a good time. I don't want to worry about doing business.
Yeah,
go ahead.
Come out to Charlotte, like you'll have a good time.
Maybe
you can fight Ray in Kansas, get it out of the way, and then you guys can be friends. And
Ray?
Yeah, fight him.
I don't have nothing against Ray. What are you talking about?
Take him out. Like, just anybody who's wronged you in the hobby, take Ray as a representative. And
why is it Ray?
Because he's
what are you talking about?
He's the only one there, I think, that's coming.
Dude, Ray was repping my merch on Old Card Shop last night.
I saw that. He's not a true collector anymore. He lost his true collector shirt.
True collector. Oh, that was the best. That was by far the best podcast live I've had. The True Collector episode. All right, guys. I'm pretty much, I think, to the bottom. I don't know. I may have missed some questions. I tried to hit a lot of them. The chat's moving too much for me. I did the best I could in this live.
So are you coming to the National in a couple weeks? Chicago. You're in Chicago.
That's more like player based, though, isn't it? There's no vending, right?
No, there's vending.
There is?
I think there's
it's just at Worlds there's no vending?
Yeah, I think it's like over 500 booths or something, like tables. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, so you're vending there too?
No, I'm just going. I've never been, and I know like some people from the Discord are going, so I'm going to meet up with them. And like Ponga, who's in chats in Chicago.
Oh yeah.
There's a lot of Chicago people. We're just going to try to meet there and see what it is. I think Basic said he's coming.
So I mean, we don't need to. Do I need to like strap up bulletproof vest or something, or?
Just don't go to the bad neighborhoods. Like you'll be fine.
I mean, where is it at? Is it like out in is it in the city or?
It's like near O'Hare. It's in Rosemont by the convention center. So it's like far away from the city.
Okay. Yeah, because I mean, I live, outside of I live like 45 minutes outside of St. Louis, and you don't go to St. Louis at night. And that sounds like Chicago is kind of the same thing.
Yeah, it's far away. It's far away from the dangerous parts of Chicago, at least.
Amon asked, do you think the rarity of alt arts in Scarlet and Violet compared to those in Sword and Shield will affect the box values in the long run? Alt arts used to have much harder to pull. Are Scarlet and Violet pull rates really that much easier? Like, I don't know.
I mean, the thing the new boxes have going for them is like they just have better art that's common. Like you're pulling just better hits instead of like pulling an alt art and losing money. Like you can just pull better cards.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the pull rate's a little easier. I don't think it's like crazy easy to pull those top hits though. I mean, there's just so many hits in the set now, and so it just takes a while just to hit that in general. Like, I don't know. I think it's a little overblown of like Scarlet and Violet being easy to hit things. Could just be me though. Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay, yeah, I'm finally making it down to that part where Basic's in here and everything. Okay. So Basic's leaving. He's gonna take a break from MetaZoo and actually go to a Pokemon convention.
It's sports.
Oh, it's sports.
It's mainly sports, yeah. But I guess like there's some like Pokemon vendors. Like I guess you can sell whatever you want, right? Like anything else. So.
Do you like mess around with sports at all?
No.
Me either.
I don't understand it. So.
Mason said, "Congrats on N for escaping the echo chamber Discord." Nah, man. I mean, it just I don't know. I didn't think I was getting like a lot of value out of it, I guess, for me. I mean, I guess it was fun and everything. It's just wasn't the right spot for me, I guess.
What do you mean a free Discord wasn't providing value?
I don't know. No, I mean, I just I don't know. I think I don't fit in with a lot of the groups in the hobby, I feel like. And it's fine. Like I don't mind it. I just I don't know. I definitely get on some people's nerves and things, and I don't want to be anywhere causing trouble. I'm not
Are
about that.
we
I
are
just
we
want to stick in my
witnessing
lane here on my channel, provide the value here, and if anyone doesn't like it, they can just click off the video. I don't want to. I don't want to cause any issues.
we're witnessing the origin story to Discord you start next week?
I do need to start one though. I really want to start one. Seems like everyone's got a Discord, like except me, and I think there's enough people here that we could actually get some good stuff talked about in there. But the biggest thing about that Discord, I was like a couple of Discords I were in, like two of the ones I left. It's just so many people focused on like niche things, like vintage, like other card games, like just stuff that it's not really what I'm like looking for, what I'm like want to be a part of. You know, it's very, you know, unless it was like posting about like sales or like new releases or things like that. This wasn't much discussion on like the modern side of things from what I saw. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, people will talk about whatever, like, it just goes in different ways, obviously. I mean, even if you have your Discord, you can't really control the conversation.
I would never want to. Yeah. And I actually noticed that. I want to speak on that real quick. Anyone making it to this long in the video, I do notice that YouTube, so I checked this. I have no settings on any of my channel to stop any messages. Everything goes. I have no moderators. I do not delete your messages. However, I do see over here on StreamYard, I see messages that come through that don't come through on the YouTube chat for whatever reason, you know, whether it be like a cuss word in it or, you know, just whatever it may be. I don't know why YouTube, you know, likes to do that and likes to monitor my channel like that, but it's not me, I promise you. Same thing goes with my Discord. I'm completely against banning anything. I'm not going to be one of those channels. I mean, for me, I've been banned from, let's see, E4. I've been banned from Pokenomics. I've been banned from PK's channel. Probably been banned from her channel. So I'll never do that to anyone else because that's ridiculous. That's how I feel about that whole censorship. I'm like, I want it to be like Elon Musk. No censorship. Pokemon Classics. Charlotte is the only East Coast Collecticon. Bigger draw of people on the half of the U.S. Okay, that makes sense. So there's no other East Coast besides Florida, I guess? Is that right?
Yeah, as far as it goes.
Okay. The Ray and NN beef is crazy. What are we talking about?
Telling you.
Ray's unfortunately not in here anymore. I don't know where that started. Is Ray have beef with me? Am I like on the what's going on here? Do you know something I don't?
It's just because I said you should take out all your frustrations on Ray.
Oh jeez.
So you can make it to Charlotte.
That's hilarious. All right, guys. I hope everyone had a good time today. If I missed your question or like your comment in the chat, I'm sorry. Like it was moving fast between me and Walrus talking and trying to keep up. I probably didn't do a good enough job. I'm sorry about that. Mr. Walrus, anything you'd like to say in closing? I mean, obviously check him out on Instagram. I got his Instagram link up top. Anything else you want to share? Closing thoughts.
No, thanks for having me. I think a long time, a lot of reschedules we had to do. So I appreciate you asking me back.
Yeah, we've tried this like 3 different times. Our schedules never lined up. So I'm glad we were able to make this work today. And I hope everyone who listened through this, they got a better idea of, you know, what you want to do. You know, if you're not flipping yet, if you want to start trying to source and grade and flip cards, the opportunity is there. And, you know, I hope Mr. Walrus gave you a little bit of an idea of what that's like for someone that doesn't do it full time, but definitely makes a second income and supports his entire collection now doing so. It's a pretty big deal. I mean, if you can if you can grow your collection for free without a dollar of your own money, that can be worth it for a whole lot of people. And so hope you got something out of it. That's going to be it for today. We're out. Hope everyone enjoyed the live. Be back here in a new one soon.